Hello, good afternoon, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the GT4 Playoffs for the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals. You can think of this as a prologue event just ahead of 2 weeks' time where everything kicks off. This is the playoffs for the final 3 spots in the GT4 grids. We've been going over 10 communities over the past couple of weeks, getting lots and lots of entries in the GT3 class and the GT4 class. We'll tell you all about that through the next 2 and a bit hours. But of course, my name is Dave Christie. I can't be doing this all alone here for the next 2 hours in the commentary box. So one man that knows a lot more than me about the communities on play today. It's a very warm welcome from US of A to Mike Nows at what must be about nearly 6 o'clock in the morning for you, Mike. Well done.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, David, and appreciate it. And welcome everybody along here to what is going to be the road to the Grand Finals. And yes, as he said before, the 36 hours leading up to this event. It's been quite a long road leading up to this point. We're here at Imola today for the prelude to the Grand Finals completely, which will be coming up tonight. We have 2 hours here at Imola. And David, I could not be more excited myself.
It is going to be absolutely awesome. I mean, obviously, we've got so much to fight for just now. The final 3 spots in that GT4 grid for the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals up for grabs, but they've fought so hard even just to get themselves up to this point just now. The entries today were P6 to P8 in the relative community championship as well, because the top 3 went straight into the GT3s, 4th and 5th went into the GT4 finals. They locked their positions in there, 6th to 8th in the championships. They all come through to today, and I tell you what, I mean, it is going to be some proper door-to-door action, I think, today, especially with it being at Imola, Mike.
Most certainly. And with some of the names that we see out there on the grid tonight, it is a real surprise to see some of them. I would have expected them to qualify in the main event, but nonetheless, they are going to be here tonight duking it out for the last few spots. As you said, 3 spots available. There are 30 drivers here on this grid tonight, and only 3 of them can make it all the way. And I have predict we have a real fight on our hands. It's looking like a Alpine stock race here tonight. But I do assure you there are some other cars out there, and we will see some incredible action nonetheless.
Yeah, qualifying is going to be such a huge factor here at this 3-mile circuit, the beautiful heartland of Italy, as the Imola site take us for a ride this afternoon. And the thing is as well, you said that about the Alpine. Let's dive into that a little bit more, because 96%, 97% of the cars out there are that Alpine GT4. Now, as somebody that's not raced with ACC since that new 1.9 update, it does seem like it's turned everything on its head in the GT4 scene.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people used to look at the Alpine as the little Alpine that could, just that car, little 4-cylinder, 1.8 liter turbo that was chugging along on the grid. But ever since 1.9, that car has turned into an absolute monster through the corners as well. It is no slouch in the straight line, not quite topping the time charts in the straight or in the KPH charts there. The McLaren typically will be taking that advantage, which we do have a few McLarens out there tonight. I do predict to see them up higher in the time charts with a longer straight here at Imola. But there's no question, David, that with all of the corners on this track, the Alpine, one of the strongest out there and just one of the strongest in the game right now for the GT4s.
And the thing is that when you've got that much power and that much of an advantage over the other cars, for whatever reason, Mike, it's just silly to ignore that, and you kind of have to just jump on that bandwagon to keep yourself in. But like you said, a couple of outliers there. We've got a McLaren there, and we've got a Porsche. It'll be very interesting to see what they're able to do. But looking at the practice times going in, again, they could be at a significant deficit for just now. But again, qualifying will be getting underway very shortly. Now, one thing that I touched on there, Mike, was the importance of qualifying. Obviously, it's a nice to have. It's nice to get yourself onto that pole position, but I think for this top 10 in qualifying is going to be more crucial than I think any other race that they've done so far this season.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the tightness of these cars. Every single car going to be down to the same exact straight line speed, just about, with how many repeats there are out there in terms of the Alpines. They're all going to be locked in basically side by side. And we're going to see a big slipstream party down the straight, I predict here, by the end of lap 1. and presumably all the way down to the end of the 2 hours as well. These drivers, very tight margins as well as they begin their laps now in the qualifying. Looking at the time charts, we see some very tight margins as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. We'll get them up for you on screen very, very shortly. But as we said here, this is the prologue event. This is the appetizer for our 3 race finals that are coming up over the next couple of weeks to keep you warm over the dark winter nights. And oh my goodness me, are they going to do that? Of course, on the 11th of November, we start with a 3-hour race, then over to the 25th of November as well. That is then going to be a 6-hour race. And then in the end of, at the end of the month, it's the beginning of December actually, it's another 3-hour action. But without further ado, I think it's time to get straight into the action. Qualifying is just in its early infant stages here. And again, the Alpines, I've got to say, it's a very nice sight because in this game, Mike, you know, you get the meta, you get the cars that are loved and the cars that are just absolutely useless. And the GT4s, Alpines were never seen as the fastest, so they weren't picked all that often. But now, to see an entire field almost of them, yeah, that is quite cool.
It is a very different sight, especially for somebody who's been with it in the game for a long time. And yeah, seen the development of this car, which has just really been in the back of the field for a long time, but up at the front now. Really shows you what those changes can do in terms of when they update the game. That suspension change that they made in 1.9, one of the best updates to be added into ACC so far, really improved the feel and the handling and brought some of these cars to life as well. It did really bring some of those cars into the ground as well, with some being a lot less favored. As you mentioned earlier, David, the Porsche was the meta car, and coming into 1.9, it really doesn't look as strong as some of the other ones out there. Even compared to your BMWs and whatnot, which we don't see out there tonight. But with a few Porsches, we'll see how they stack up here in terms of the rest of the Alpines.
Yeah, I think we'll get a very quick idea of just how quick they are and how able they are to keep on board. We are on board then with Ihor Vzdetsky for Digital Force in the 141 car, just coming across the line just now for Ukraine Digital Force in. And again, as we come round through turn 1 here into Tamburello through turns 2, 3 and 4, this is arguably, Mike, one of the flashpoints of the circuit here. I think there's going to be a lot of potential chaos and carnage here.
Most certainly. As you look to your braking zone off to the side there for Tamburello at about the slip road, you can see him attacking those curbs very aggressively, heading off towards the Villeneuve chicane now, looking for the braking board off to the side around the 50 mark, tilting that car in early and getting good rotation. Maximize the minimum speed is what I always say. And now heading into Tosa. This is where you can really make or break your lap. You get out wide onto those marbles, David, and your lap can be over in a matter of no time. But nonetheless, we do see this Alpine driver, keeping it under control for now.
Yeah, it makes me very, very jealous because this is where it all goes wrong for me through the left-hander here at Piratella. Normally I'm over onto the right-hand side, invalidating my lap and breaching track limits, but nonetheless it's a great run down here into the right-hander, into Aqua Minerale through 11, 12 and 13 here. This complex just so easy to make a mistake at and get wrong. Then it's the short run up the hill towards Gracini, turns 14 and 15. This sharp chicane here. It's the left-hander you want to watch out for because it is much tighter on the radius, but again a good run out of the final chicane there for Ihor in that 141 Alpine. Then it's the home stretch here, the run down the hill, this long right-hander towards Ravazza, that double left-hander complex. Again, you have to be so patient onto the throttle here, pull the car in and then wait and wait and wait some more and then get the throttle down, and it's all home from here as Vzdetsky is going to come across the line. We'll set our first lap to give us an idea. I think we're going to be looking around about 140. Well, that's actually faster than I thought. 150 so far, but it's Filippi that goes fastest just now, 149.050. And in the 5.63 there for Team Ballas Esports. Again, far too early to take any calls from that. But again, just showing how quick the pace is going to be. I'm very curious though, Mike, to see how these Porsches can stack up.
I am as well, and one other thing that I'm curious as well is track limits. We're seeing a few drivers invalidate here. Imola, one of the tracks, it's not quite the most challenging for track limits, but one to keep an eye on. Lots of chicanes, and it's very easy to cut, especially up at the top of the hill towards Tosa And through these revatsas as well, you need to be very, very careful, as David said, to keep it on the track and get the best possible exit onto the start-finish straight through turn 19, which is hardly a turn, of course only named due to the MotoGP circuit, though Felipe looking like he's about 2.5 tenths off the pace. Nobody else quite in the wheelhouse just yet. And as I say that, Verna jumps up to P3, just behind, about 3 tenths off the pace, and looking to improve as well.
And of course, with this being a fairly short qualifying session, there's none of this, you know, going back to the pits and then, you know, waiting for 5 minutes and then coming back out. You're literally going to have to just keep rattling in the laps left, right and centre to see how you can do. But Mike, again, we said that you've got a lot more experience of the communities and the drivers more importantly. Who are the drivers out there on the entry list today that you think we should be watching out for?
Some big names to really keep an eye on out there tonight. Definitely Ryan Yee in the 818, the Trackalicious car. Currently, he is one to keep an eye on, no doubt, as well as, I'm trying to find where they are in terms of their qualifying. Looking around for Leon Seeley as well as Peter Brett, who's actually just behind Ryan Yee. Those two drivers, I think they need no introduction for some. If you guys aren't familiar, very, very accomplished esports drivers, and currently sitting in P12 there, where I know I mentioned it earlier, some drivers that I didn't quite expect to see in this race in particular, but nonetheless, they are here tonight and currently in P12. So the GT4s, David, maybe not quite up to the grips with it as they are in the GT3 cars, maybe not quite the practice.
Yeah, of course, it's a completely different animal, a lot more mechanical sympathy needed with these GT4s. You have to be a lot more patient than you would maybe need to be with the point and go style of driving with the GT3s. But Adam Spansky taking pole position just now with 5.5 minutes left to go there for the number 11 Apex 1X pit lane community team that are out there just now. Of course, they qualified through the sim zone, and it's great to see because we've got on our entry list the list of the teams, but also the communities that they qualified through. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any correlation between, you know, faster teams coming through certain communities as well. So we'll keep you updated with that one. But at the moment, that is still quite a healthy gap there. 0.3 of a second for Adam Spansky there in that 11 car, ahead of Mattia Zampedri in the 204 Alpine. 0.3 of a second, and Absolute Motorsport Islip will be trying to claw some of that back. But again, seeing about a whole second between that top 10 there, I think, Mike, that is going to come down significantly, or has the chance to come down significantly. And as we go into the final minute, it'll be, you know, within maybe say 2-3 of a second.
Oh, most certainly. As the track grips up and gets to its most optimum here, we are looking at a very optimum track temp, around 19 degrees, very close to where you would basically want it to be perfect. I think around that 16 to 18 degree mark in that window is that happy hour window. Following along here with Ryan Yee to the line, as he is going to be looking to finish a lap here. Actually, an invalid lap, unfortunately. The track limits getting the best of some of these drivers here. I know I said it wasn't too much of a challenge, but it seemed to be incorrect at first glance here. A lot of drivers out on track struggling with track limits, as we actually see 3 invalid laps this time around. Heading now towards it, though. Adam also on an absolute flyer this time.
Yeah, seeing Lucas Panic here for the 56 SR Esport team as well. And as you said, I mean, it's such a frustrating issue to have track limits, to have your lap invalidated, because it gets in your head and you start thinking, right, I need to get this sorted here. The fastest laps are always going to be just brushing that edge of danger here, but maybe it could be just a wider story here, that the gaps are going to be a little bit larger than some of the other championships that we are used to seeing. But certainly, I think we were looking for an early answer on those Porsches and McLarens, and there is nothing to suggest that there is any good news to come out of that. But on the flip side as well, Mike, sometimes I know from myself especially, as Sonny or Horkey gets it all wrong, Aquaman Rally, and wipes out another car's qualifying lap. And the thing for me is that, remember, that can have implications in the race. Race control could see that and decide, well, actually, we're not happy with that, and decide to penalise him there.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we saw it for that. Just an honest mistake, as it's very easy to unsettle the back end through the Piratella complex into Aqua Minerale there, which is he did end up spinning in the middle of Aqua Minerale where that weight change happens. Very unfortunate that the car was that close behind and wasn't able to react in time. That could honestly be the end of their qualifying. I'm not sure which car got tangled up with that, but Horchy, unfortunately, yeah, I'm going to be looking to put one more lap on the board here tonight, as he will have one more opportunity with that wounded Alpine, though, not quite showroom ready. We are watching, though, Max Florence right now in the 199, looking strong as well as he's approaching the penultimate corners through the Ravats as we go onto the rumble strips. Late braking there, just a tap of the brakes to get that car rotated onto the start-finish straight, and he is going to be heading now towards the line on another invalid lap. I'm not sure where that happened in the final sector, though. Pushing track limits here are these guys. They need to keep it between the mayo and the mustard, as I famously like to say, but no, very tough for these guys so far.
As a non-American, I find that comment somewhat kind of triggering, between the mayo and the mustard. It's not something that we have over here, but yeah, I'm not even going to try it. But I will be dragging that line out from you at several points through the race here. What I have noticed though is Matteo Zampedri, that is a faster lap that he's put in there. Not quite enough to take pole position right now, but it's now 9/100ths of a second behind Adam Sabanski. So that is an improvement by about 0.2 of a second. We've got a yellow flag out on circuit as we're into the final minute of qualifying here for the GT4 playoffs here at the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals. As I said, this is your taster event to what is about to kick off in just 2 weeks' time. And for all of these drivers and all of these teams here, this is it. This is their last chance to get to be part of that event. Top three will go through and secure their place just now. But at the moment, top three in qualifying, Sabanski, Zampedri and Florence in that 199 machine for SG Stearns, sharing the car with Janis Reinders behind the wheel of that as well. Now, going towards the race as well here, Mike, let's talk a little bit about that. 2-hour race. We've got a mandatory pit stop with a driver change. The drivers, I believe it's only 90 minutes is the maximum they're allowed to drive, plus that maximum stint timer of 65 minutes. So it kind of would make sense to just bring it in and swap it over at that hour mark.
Yeah, most certainly. I think that's going to be the most common strategy around there. The undercut here at Imola, it could work out. Imola has one of the longest pit lanes in ACC with a time loss of about 73 seconds of a 30-second, or with a 30-second tire change, including, that is, the time in and out of the pits as well. So with a driver change, of course, that allows you a free tire change, as it takes longer to swap the driver than it does to change tires. Allowing them to be on that fresh rubber and push it down to the very last stint. So both drivers will be giving it their all here, I predict. And yeah, with a 90-minute stint timer, it has to be a fair distribution of time pretty much. And potentially we will see those drivers pushing it that little bit further. But with a 65-minute stint timer, there really just is no point. Because adding an extra pit stop to the end of your race time, that will, well, 73 seconds will most certainly add up, as that is going to be about 73% of your lap.
Well, that is another fastest lap there for the number 11, Adam Stepanski there, going purple with a 148.330, extending that gap very, very slightly to Zampedri with 9/100ths of a second. But qualifying is done and dusted. The cars on their final lap just now. We're following Matteo Zampedri for Absolute Motorsport Acelith here just now, currently 1/10 of a second up. So this could be absolutely monumental. We could see the King's Crown being knocked off his head at the final last gasp here. 30 seconds left to go in the wait timer just now. I've got no doubt he'll be able to get that car through. He gets it through into the final section just now, through Ravazza, nice and clean, exits very, very well. Can he still do this then? He was 1/10 of a second up. That would be enough to put Zampedri on pole. He comes across the line. What can Matteo Zampedri do? He goes pole right last gasp, 148.252. Adam Spansky knocked down to P2, and I tell you what, that is a mental punch in the gut there, Mike, right at the last.
78 thousandths of a second separating pole time there at the very end. Mattia putting that lap together with a dream. He almost lost it through the penultimate corner too. Coming out of the second Ravazza, he had a little moment of oversteer, and I feel like his heart sunk at that moment. But he had the line, came at just the right time. If it was a little bit further, just a couple more kilometers down the road, I think he would have ended up running a little bit slower, but no, it was where it was. And Zampedri takes pole position in what is going to be one of the most important poles here of this championship, the road to the Grand Finals. As I said before, what a road it has been leading up to this 36 hours of racing, with this 2-hour race to come, and then a future on the 11th, of course, or not the 11th, excuse me, on in the future, we will have the 6-hour race as well.
You should trust yourself. You're absolutely spot on.
It was the 11th? Okay.
It's the 11th of November. See, I do that all the time. I second guess myself. But what a pole lap there from Absolute Motorsport Isolith then to take it for that 201 team, sharing the car, of course, with Simoniezza, and a name that we've seen, no stranger here to the SimGrid, but usually been in the GT3s. However, it is going to be all hell kicking off, because then on that first row as well, you've got Adam Szymanski in that number 11 car, the Apex 1X pit lane car, sharing the car with Chris Warner. I think it's all going to kick off into that first couple of corners. You may be going to get a couple of wise guys behind him, potentially on that row too. And Mike, this is what we always say, you can't win it in the first corner, but you sure as hell can lose it in that first corner.
Yeah, Tamburillo, one to claim a lot of victims here. A gravel trap off to the side, which will definitely slow you down if you end up into it. And rejoining the track can be quite a trick as well. Need to do that safely without impeding any other drivers, and I've definitely seen my fair share of that in the days. Hopefully we don't see that tonight. I definitely, with the caliber of drivers out there, do expect to see maybe a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Not hesitation, but maybe some safety into the first corner. But we'll see. The gloves, they can always come off here, especially when there is a lot on the line, and the top 3 seats, and only the top 3 seats, make it down into the championship.
Well, here we go on to the grid then, and let's take you through your top 10 or top 15, whatever we've got time for. And on pole position is that number 204 car then, Absolute Motorsport Isolith. They will be delighted to get that pole position and get on that front row of the grid. In second place then is going to be Chris Warner, who is in second place there. Then it's Nils Steinbrenner in the 255 car, Guglielmo Filippi in the 563 in 4th position, Max Florence in the 199 in 5th position. The great thing is I don't need to tell you what car they're in, because they're all in Alpines. Matteo Sinotti in the 201 is in row 3 on 6th position. Row 4 is Alexander Knightson in the 141 Alpine. Daniel Solan in the 297 is in 8th position. And then in 9th position, Sigurd Revsik. And then in 10th position, Patrick Mastola in the 230 as well. The thing that I'm really, really looking forward to this is I think any one of those cars outside the top 20 still have a significant chance here, Mike, to get up into the action and get themselves involved here, because you look outside that top sort of 10. You've got the likes of the 818 Madhouse Racing team. You've got the 438 STR Esports team. And I know off air you were telling me they were wickedly, wickedly fast. The 137 Takota Esports team, the number 3 Simply Race Esports team, and then the likes of the 666 Red Kings Motorsport outfit, as well as the cars make their way round on this formation lap.
Yes, indeed. Here at Imola, of course, 3 miles out lap, 3.0 miles, 4.9 kilometers. Track founded back in 1953 and unchanged since 1994. Current layout, not sure when I think we used the 1994 layout, but it's been changed slightly since then with a few modifications in the corners. 19 corners, 8 to the right, 11 to the left, with only 34 meters of elevation change, not the highest on the calendar. But nonetheless, these drivers, they're most certainly going to be experiencing some extreme emotional highs and emotional lows here, so the elevation not too much of an important factor, I would imagine.
I tell you what, the track might not be going up and down too much, but I absolutely guarantee the drivers' nerves and their stomachs are going to be going up an awful lot more over the next 2 hours of this race with everything that is at stake here. I mean, really, it's all eyes on those top 3 positions because that's where it all counts right now to get through. That's what they're all racing for here today. And, you know, we talked a little bit as well while the drivers are going through Tulsa just now. One of the questions we asked early on was how those cars that weren't Alpines are going to do, and I've got to say, absolutely terribly. Outside the top 25 for all 3 cars, the 2 Porsches and the McLaren, 26th, 28th and 30th position.
Yeah, definitely a small message there to Kunos, but nonetheless, I'm not sure who I envy more here at this point is either Mattia or his teammate Simone in the pits. I'm not sure whose nerves are going to be flying higher at the beginning. Simone with no control of the car. He is only going to be hoping that that thing comes back in one piece, and also still in the lead. Mattia, he is the one to determine that at the start, and there are a lot of hungry drivers behind that want that position as well.
There certainly is, with 2 hours left to go. Well, we've got just a couple of seconds then to finish up our pre-race. Mike, you've watched a lot of these drivers through the build-up to the season. What does your gut say about the top 3 here?
The top 3, those are honestly names that I'm not too familiar with. Nils Steinbrenner, I'm pretty sure I've heard that name in the past, and looking very rapid thus far. Lucas Tippach, his teammate in the 255, potentially going to be trying to, well, come in at the second stint and finish that one home. But it will be a real interesting battle in general with the top 10, I think, as well. The top 3, of course, the one that everyone's going to be focusing on, but I wouldn't count any of these drivers out as they line up here 2x2 Noah's Ark formation and come around the final few corners now.
Here we go then, round through Ravazza to get things off for our GT4 playoffs here at the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals. Good afternoon to everyone on the YouTube chat and Twitch chat. Let us know who you are supporting, the drivers, the teams, and everybody that you want to support today. But 2 hours is about to get going very shortly. Zampedri and Spansky side by side, eager to get tearing down the start-finish straight into Tamburello. Of course, it's a long wait because that start-finish line right at the end there, just before they turn that short, sharp right-hander. There it goes. And we are about to get going green very, very shortly indeed. Again, an agonising wait for these drivers, and they have to keep it under control. But here we go then. The green flag flies, and we are racing here at Imola. It's a cracking start for Matteo Zampedri. Absolute Motorsport Acelith clear the pack then into turn 1. No problems whatsoever. They're through Tamburello, through 2, 3 and 4, and again it's all looking very clean and orderly through the first couple of corners here. Adam Spansky tucked in firmly behind those Zampedri just now as they come into the Villeneuve chicane, that second chicane in the corner here. And again, the order of the day as they run out down towards Tulsa just now. Keep it clean, keep it clear for the first 5 minutes. Keep yourself out of any sort of chaos, which will happen if you're outside that top 10 just now. Look at it, you've got cars every which way but loose right now. But in this top 6 right now, they've got the game plan firmly under control as we go through towards the Piratella just now.
What a start it has been. We are green, green, green here at Imola, and Zampedri is leading the way with Adam Spansky behind here. And these two are going to be trying to work together at the start and try to pull away from the rest of the pack, gain a nice little second lead and break that slipstream, hopefully before they can get to the start-finish straight. That would be very nice. Although, I know it's hard to say that to some drivers, have a little bit of, well, restraint, and telling a racing driver to have some restraint can sometimes be a futile ask. As it stands, we are watching Verna behind here in P6, chasing down Max Florence into the Ravazzas. The Ravazzas a fairly decent overtaking opportunity if you are confident enough. You can see him tucking out there just to have a little bit of a look. Not quite anything, though, just yet. Going to be focusing on getting that better run down the start-finish straight into the Tamburello chicane, which will be the best overtaking opportunity on the track here. But what a clean lap one it has been so far, David. And as well, Verna needs to keep an eye out from behind as well as in front.
I think the other thing that I've just realised about this competition here is we're seeing Adam Spansky then firmly onto the tail end of Matteo Zampedri, and these two have got the absolute right idea here just now. Spansky just holding on to the tail end of that GT4 in front of him, not making a move just yet because he doesn't need to, and realistically, you know, if you're Zampedri, Spansky or Steinbrenner, you don't have to actually physically make a move. But the other thing I was away to say here is we're watching Simone Werner for SPQR Racing Team, is the fact that not only are these drivers representing the teams that they're driving for, but they're also representing the communities that they qualified through as well. And I wonder if that, you know, it makes a little bit more demand for respectful driving, which is what we've absolutely seen through this second lap here just now. It's been firm, but it's been very, very fair. And hopefully, I mean, I know it's almost certainly not going to be that way, but hopefully we have this continuing for the next 2 hours here, Mike.
You know what else I hope we have continuing here, David, is this McLaren, the number 22, or excuse me, number 77 McLaren, currently in P22, has made up the ground here in that Team Iris, looking really strong so far. Actually qualified with the Trackalicious community there, and made up from out of the doldrums. I think was below P25, no cars that weren't Alpine starting in the 25. And the qualifying pace was definitely there for the Alpines, but is the race where we're going to see the difference for these different manufacturers coming out under the pressure now? The Alpine will be breathing down his diffuser come the end of this lap, but still, I think he has the pace there to gain onto Brandon Klein in front.
I'll be honest, Mike, I'm a simple guy with simple tastes, and that is a good-looking car. Loving the livery on this one just now. As we cut back to your race leaders, what a gap that's been opened up to Niall Steinbrenner then in third position, 1.3 seconds. And I would not be surprised if we went on board on the front of Spansky. I wouldn't be surprised to see if that car was bump drafting Zampedri in front, trying to get them away from the pack behind. That is just properly ingenious driving from the two of them. We see it all the time in sim racing competitions. You get the top two who are just fighting tooth and nail, and they drag each other back. They claw each other through into the rest of the field. But those two absolutely got the right idea. They're getting off into the sunset, and really that leaves Niall Steinbrenner as the vulnerable car there, because he's still got quite a few cars within touching distance. Simone Seminara just behind him, and then you've got the 201 just behind there, as I get completely distracted by a wild attempt there by Patrick Mastola from Clean Racing Finland. He wants to get this position. He's in 8th just now. They go through into the right-hander at Acqua Minerale here, but he's in a really hard place, and we see this all the time. He wants to get the position from Notens in front, but he's also going to have to watch out, because on his right he's now got Sigurd Drefzik trying to make a move through into the chicane, and somehow they both get through there, Mike.
You can see the amount of curbage. Whoa, a big moment of oversteer on exit for Patrick. That is going to allow Sigurd to easily slip through on that mistake, and we might actually see Alexander Paulik follow suit very soon here. Heading into the Ravazzas, he has a look, but he is going to back out of it. But such an easy mistake to make there. Heading back up to our P2 here. You can see they are doing exactly what they need to with that strategic driving, as we were saying, just pulling further and further away, and they can deal with each other later. They got plenty of time in this race. 1 hour, 54 minutes, 21 seconds left to go. You can see gaining under braking there, but not really making any attempted moves or anything. They can allow that knife fight in a phone booth to resume later, where we will see as well Niels behind. He is actually going to be under some pressure relatively soon, and if these two, I don't know, they look like they might want to get a little antsy here coming on to the 4th lap, but I predict these two have good calm heads on their shoulders, and we will see them waiting it out until later on here. Ryan Yee, he is in a bit of a scrap himself, cars all around him, David, and maybe struggling a little bit for pace here in that Alpine, as there are some cars behind Ryan Yee. I think he's dropped a couple positions since the start, looking at it. Actually, yep, dropped 2 positions down from P11, unfortunately. So looking to recover here at the beginning is Ryan Yee.
Yeah, Thomas Moran in that 137 Dakota esports car got past him just now as we've got this fight resuming then. Mastola, Pollock and Brett all involved in this one just now into that right-hander then Aqua Minerale. They get going again, but again, it's all to play for right now. A beautiful, beautiful switch back there by Alexander Pollock for Simply Race Esports. He got the number, and that surely is done and dusted as they go into Grazzini. Beautiful, beautiful move there on the exit of that corner, timed to perfection, and that was one of the moves that we've seen so far of the race here. But just looking behind there, that 230 there of Mastola definitely wants to try and get that position back for Clean Racing Finland, and let's hope that they live up to their name just now. It's certainly been one of the most clean starts to a race I think I've seen for the past couple of months anyway. But back to your race leaders here, and it is going to be a move then from Spansky then on the outside of Zampedri. I was not expecting this, because now we've got a little bit of a fight on our hands, and Spansky moves to the outside, tries to get to the inside on the switchback, and look at Steinbrenner. He's taken off about 0.6 of a second here, Mike. I'm not sure that that's what I would be wanting to do at this stage.
I thought Spansky looked a little eager on the last lap, and he might be pulling the trigger a little early. There's been some big contact in the back, unfortunately. We see some cars off. Ryan Yee is off into the gravel trap, as well as I think that was Brandon Kleinen picked up in that, and maybe one other driver. Very unfortunate. You hate to see that, but resuming here with Spansky, who is still on the charge, and Zampedri, he is now just keeping an eye on that rearview mirror. And as you said, Steinbrenner closing the gap. We'll see if he can manage that, as he even has a 1.5 second gap to Simone Verna behind. This could get interesting. We may here in the next couple laps see a three-way battle for the P1 of this race, and there is still almost 2 hours to go. Like I said, is this pulling the trigger too early? Is he trying to go and take that advantage early on here and maybe even pull a bit further? This could be a strategic decision that pays off at the end, but he needs to get that overtake. Does Adam here?
Again, being massively disconnected from the race here, Mike. I can't help feeling this is hugely short-sighted of Spansky to try and pull this just now. They had a 2.2 second gap here as we cut to a replay of that incident that happens through the second chicane there. It was a car going wide off into the curbs there, onto the grass, and it was all hell breaking loose. And to be honest with you, I think that's nothing more than a bit of a very unfortunate racing incident there, Mike.
Yeah, really wrong place at the wrong time for Ryan Yee, unfortunately, and as a result, he has plummeted in the positions all the way down to P24. He didn't have the greatest start, and that really just piles the insult onto the injury here, unfortunately, on lap 5. Though Adam Spansky, I think he maybe has backed off a little bit, it seems. He's opened that gap back up to about 0.3, a good, healthy margin, said no one ever. But nonetheless, behind Simone Verna, side by side into the Villeneuve chicane. Maybe some bumping and banging. As you can see, they take that curb a little aggressively, which washes them wide. Both drivers, though, giving each other very fair racing room heading into Tosa now. It looks like the SPQR Alpine should be firmly ahead on corner exit. And a lovely job there from Simone Verna.
Yeah, great job on Verna taking that position from Seminara there in the 563. Team Ballas Esports, they move down into 5th position. Back up with your race leaders again, and this is starting to boil over in less than 10 minutes from the start of this race. Definitely was not expecting this, and Nils Steinbrenner is going to be rubbing his hands together in glee right now, because he now has an opportunity to catch up, because while Verna and Seminara have been fighting with each other, he's now completely cleared as well. So I guess these two have kind of got a little bit of a relief that they can just fight here, knowing that it's only Nils just behind him just now. I wonder if Adam Spansky feels that he is much faster than Zampedri just now. That's certainly the idea that I'm getting here just now, because Zampedri seems very cool, calm and collected with what he's doing here, but Spansky seems a little bit scrappy, a little bit aggressive for my liking at this stage. But hey, look, racing's racing. There's nothing to be gained for the race win other than, the same that's on offer for second and third place, qualifying in those last 3 GT4 positions here. But I guess it's bragging rights nonetheless. But Spansky again coming up through into 2, 3 and 4 here, glued to the back end of that bumper here. I actually do wonder if he's maybe realised that Zampedri has slowed him down a little bit, and Steinbrenner is actually naturally starting to close with that pace, because it was 1.7, now it's 1.6 here, as we've got Mike just absolute madness going on here. A little bit of bumping and banging outside for 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th.
Yeah, the number 14 VGTR car taking off to the kitty litter there, unfortunately, and is going to rejoin 2 positions behind where they went off. Still, though, look at this pack of cars heading into, I think this is Villeneuve here. Way deep, though, we go. Both cars follow suit there. Onto the rumble strips. Nice little send onto the inside of Tosa. It's so hard to make a move through that, and be on the outside is actually taking the word out of my mouth. You move onto the outside there, onto that gravel. You pick up some marbles on your tires, get on the throttle too early, and that is exactly what can happen. The rear end pirouetting and facing the incorrect direction on track. Very unfortunate up at the front. These two, though, no love lost. Adam Spansky and Matthias Zempedri. Wow, this is so incredible. Like I say, with that gap, they're pulling away actually still, even with the small little scrapping that they're doing. 2 seconds now is the gap. Steinbrenner looking like he is just in that management window, trying to keep his tires and fuel in a reasonable window and just bring that car home to his teammate for the next stint. Of course, that is a long future look. We have a 65-minute stint timer here. These drivers are very short into it, 12 minutes or 13 minutes into their stints here. Got a long ways to go to keep these cars in one piece, and that's also a note there to Adam and Mattia at the front. Where, come on, guys, remember, keep it clean. You can race all you want, but just don't have an incident. That's the biggest thing, is that will immediately put you back with all of these other drivers.
I wonder if there was maybe a little bit of gamesmanship a couple of laps ago, if they might be friends for all we know here. But again, let's have a look up the inside for Adam Spansky into that chicane, and he's got the position done like candy off a baby. Now, I do wonder, because that did look like there was very little fighting that actually went on there from Zempedri. Zempedri might be happy just to sit in the toe of Spansky and let him do a little bit of the work, but either way, that's going to bring Steinbrenner a little bit closer. Also look at Simone in that 201 car for SPQR Racing. Again, just bringing that gap down to Steinbrenner a little bit, so Nils might be under pressure here. And I can't believe there's no way that that we're already 15 minutes into this race. It feels like we've only just had a couple of minutes in the book already. But Christer Snottens for Cronus Racing Team in that 297, again trying to muddle the way through. And you've got to say, I mean, for any car that's outside the top 15, it's a hell of a lot of work to see any light at the end of the tunnel for this.
Yeah, at this point, it is going to be a lot, probably down to big strategy calls. We may see some big undercuts, some big overcuts. You never know. Obviously, the overcut's going to be a bit more tricky, as I think these drivers are going to be bringing that stint timer to that 65-minute limit, if I had to guess. But Adam Spansky back onto that overtake that we saw up for the lead of the race. I do think that you were right there, David, and that Mattia maybe just saw the writing on the walls, and he sees behind that Adam is definitely quicker, but not quite quick enough to make too much of a margin, so he lets him by, is going to stick in his slipstream for now and look to get that position back a little bit later on in the race. Just trying to further their advantage to Nils Steinbrenner behind. With Simone Verna closing that gap, they will be very happy if that does become a reality for them. Steinbrenner very comfortable with where he is, as he currently is holding that final slot to the Grand Finals for right now in a GT4 car with a fairly comfortable gap. Though in 2 hours of racing, anything can happen, and it normally does. Side by side we go down the start-finish straight with Michael Thomas on the outside in the Red Kings Motorsport. It's going to turn to the inside for the second part of the corner, and he does retain the position for now.
Yeah, he certainly does, and 1 3/4 hours left to go. And we've got another yellow flag as there's more incidents that's been very, very quickly cleared. But again, just looking to the top 3 here as we go to a replay earlier on. This is the 43 car. That's the Team Alba 43 car that gets absolutely clattered by that 14 car VGTR Esport. And again, that's the incident we saw a couple of laps ago. I do wonder what will happen with that, because VGTR really have just had the most miserable afternoon, you've got to say, and they're only 15 minutes into the race here.
Yeah, they do have some decent prospects looking up. Simone Verna up in P4 for right now. Excuse me, no, that's S. I think, am I even correct on that? I think. Regardless, double checking. They're SPQR. So yeah, they are looking to make some decent grounds up here, but behind, of course, we are currently watching the likes here of Michael Thomas with that scrap still. The Red Kings trying to hold on to P14 for now. You can see incident between the number 9 and the number 4 warning, or the number 141 warning to 141 for causing a collision. Will be future incidents here that we see popping up there. Thank you to our stewards, of course, for providing that.
Yeah, just if we can go back actually to that 14th place, the 666 of Red Kings Racing, because only because, I mean, they're getting such a large shout out on Twitch just now from Red Luca 56. He's loving seeing that textbook move here, as we're seeing another move there, or an attempted move there by Videtsky in that 141 car, and the 438 just going behind there of Brett. Now, that was a car that you said was going to be one to watch, Peter Brett, in that STR Esports car, and unfortunately they've just not had the running today here, Mike.
I think it was, I'm not sure if you said it before the stream or on stream, but I think you were correct in that assumption, in that both Peter Brett and Leon Seedley, while they are both absurdly rapid, might you even say definitely would you say, even aliens in a GT3 car, the GT4 car just maybe not quite up to their speed. That mechanical grip, you're very reliant on you're feeling the road more, you can see the curb usage is much more aggressive. These cars with a little bit more forgiving suspension, it's more bumping and banging allowed with it, but nonetheless, maybe not quite up to the caliber of some of these other drivers, and putting in the practice between us. I know both Peter Brett and Leon Seeley, I think both do other esports events, so practicing for this event maybe was a bit of a challenge for them, but still, yeah, very much surprises me. They do get the overtake there onto Naughtons, but nonetheless, P10, it's only going to be for them, and I would have expected them to be up there a bit more by now.
Yeah, you would have thought that it would have been a little bit higher up, but talking of higher up, we need to kind of keep our eye on third and fourth place just now, because Niels Steinbrenner now coming under real pressure from Simone Werner. That gap now, I believe, is around about 9/10 of a second. There is Niels Steinbrenner, and you can see just in the background, so Simone Werner has absolutely destroyed that gap right now. Remember, was fighting for that position, took it off of Seminara in the 563 car, and that's why, look at a big power slide of Steinbrenner, clips the curb, going through that left-hander, power slides the car around. That's going to do absolutely nothing for your lap time. I'll tell you what, the pressure is totally mounting now for Steinbrenner, as the chances of this third place qualifying slot for the GT4 playoffs is starting to become very, very sketchy indeed. Just in front there, you can still see Adam Svansky and Mattia Zampedri is behind. All hell is kicking off with Brett Naughtons and Videtsky for that 10th position here, and you get the feeling that it was polite, it's now firm, and it's going to end up, somebody's going to end up upside down in the wall here, Mike.
I would almost certainly say so. If they keep this up side by side into Piratella, you can see there is no room between three of the drivers. I'm not even sure you could fit a credit card between them at this point. Getting very close. Peter Brett still on that inside now, heading into one of the most challenging overtaking corners on the track. Way wide he is going to go, and that could be a track cut, slipping and sliding through Aqua Minerale. There's big contact. Unfortunately, the cameraman not quite catching that, but nonetheless, they all somehow stay on track. In a flash of the headlights from Naughtons, very upset with the driving that he is seeing. He does end up taking to the curbs there, runs deep through, but holds on to it for now. And actually, that was Peter Brett, or no, that was Naughtons that had a little flash of the headlights. He is still under threat from the 141 behind as well, heading now side by side into the Ravats as the outside line for the 141. Wow, lots of bumping and banging though on this lap. My goodness, David.
This is awesome. This is like a proper rivalry now between Naughtons and Vizdetsky. I think for me, well, again, very limited angles that we saw there as it happened, but I think Naughtons actually ran wide at Aqua Minerale and just swiped straight back onto the track and hit Videtsky, and I think that's why Videtsky is feeling a little bit hard done by. As we are on board now with Simone Werner down into Tosa then on lap 11 of this 2-hour race. 20 minutes is in the book already. We've got somehow an hour and 40 minutes left to go on this, and if we have any cars left, it's going to be a miracle, because you can see the tempers and frustration just starting to build very, very slowly. Don't discount Seminara behind there in the 563 Team Ballas Esport car as well, because if these two start fighting tooth and nail to keep this position, then they might be brought into this as well. But through Aqua Minerale then, and this is just a textbook demonstration concentration here from Simone Werner. Pulls out to the inside, is down into the chicane. But again, that camera angle so damn deceiving. It makes it look like the car's a lot closer than it actually is. We've got a 15-second time penalty already been given to Thomas Moran in that 137 Dakota Esports. We'll get an idea on what that's for. I'd likely imagine that has been given out by race control for some sort of incident or some sort of collision. However, let's go back to a topic you brought to our attention. There we go, that's confirmation of the penalty for the 137. Look at that number 77 right now. Team Iris's Lucas Lichten up into P18. What a damn drive that is. 8 positions up already, and we're barely even 25 minutes into the race.
Actually, 10 positions up. They started in P28, did Lucas Lichten, so still just trying to make up that ground and push his way through it. Is our biggest gainer here tonight so far. Up at the front, I do got to say, Nils was over-driving that car to an absolutely expert, not an expert level, but just to a level in which was a little bit too much. And is that a lot? Wow, that Team Iris McLaren does not look showroom ready, actually, as I catch a glimpse of the front end. That could be why we see him backing up here into the rest of these cars, with Brandon Kleinen closing in very closely here, and maybe going to be going for a move in these next couple laps. I'm not sure. That was probably due to that contact that we saw in the first chicane. That's right. Unfortunate for the McLaren, the lone McLaren out there tonight. And in the sea of French Alpines, looking to improve here. Still, though... Oh, God, sorry.
No, I was just about to say he's desperately trying to avoid this, but it looks so menacing, doesn't it? Having 5 Alpines breathing down your neck, and you're just this little McLaren trying to escape from it.
Here we see Simone Werner with a look into the top of the hill. No move, though, just yet. You can see trying to force the Alpine in front into a mistake. Steinbrenner has been overdriving the car, and I think Werner realizes that, trying to just push him that little bit further, make him run deep into a corner, obviously without contact, just force him psychologically into a mistake here. And Werner going to try to clean up the scraps, as you can see, taking a much better line through the Ravazzas. Should get a better exit, but with the same straight line speed, we're going to see these two cars equal down the straight here. Even with the slipstream, it should be a bit of an ask from that distance. But I say that, and we are gaining quite a bit, in fact, as we head to the line now. I'm going to have a look into the first chicane. You can see, maybe not, as the inside is fully covered off right now. He tucks to the racing line, but still holding that middle line. Off to the outside. Is either driver going to outbrake themselves here? It's so easy to get tunnel visioned on the car in front or behind you and miss your braking zone, but no, these drivers, no focus broken for a second.
This is absolutely fascinating, because you just know that it's going to be a momentary lapse in concentration from one of these drivers here, and that is going to decide the outcome of this little battle here just now. As Seminara a little bit further back, and you'd be forgiven for thinking this is another race start here, but this isn't. This is the battle for 17th all the way down to 20th position here, as that McLaren has been gobbled up by Yee and by Kleinen as well, so back down to 20th position, as you can see, Brandon Kleinen, although the McLaren just gets back up into 19th there just now. As there we go, that's a little look from Simone Werner as they come down into Aqua Minerale, and have a look at Seminara now. Seminara well and truly brought into this battle here as well. This is going to be a 3-car fight for the final qualifying position here, and again we've got an hour and a half as well. Who's that background? That's Florence in the 199 car, so that's the SG Stern of Max Florence. He's just a couple of seconds off getting into this as well. This could be absolutely huge here, Mike.
Absolutely. Werner smells blood in the water, but he needs to get the move on extremely quick. Simone has Simone behind, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Seminara closing that gap rapidly as these two continue to squabble, and as actually Red Luca has pointed out in chat really quickly, P1 and P2 both have the identical fastest lap. Mattia did set that first at a 149.480, down to the, that is insane, down to the 100,000th of a second pretty much, or yes, 100,000th of a second. Incredible margins here down to that's so insane. Of course, the human eye blinks at 0.2 of a second, if anyone was curious, but nonetheless, Werner, I think he is going to be making a look here. You can see all over the back there with a much better run heading towards Villeneuve. He's going to need to be very confident and late on the brakes here. Is so going to be the inside for the first part of the quarter, quickly changes to the outside and is going to wash deep the back end, steps out. That's going to give the opportunity immediately to Simone Seminara behind into Tosa we go. Nothing happening just yet in terms of position changes, but my goodness, any one of these drivers could make a huge error at any point in time, and so far, not seeing any evidence of that just yet.
Mike, I kind of wish the audience could see my webcam right now because I was jumping up in the seat as that all kicked off between Verna and Seminara. This is getting wild right now. You can see the patience running out from Simone Verna trying to get past Nils Steinbrenner, but you've got to say an amazing defensive job right now at this early stage of the race from Nils Steinbrenner, just putting that car exactly where it's needing to be and held that line on the inside of that second chicane there, keeping that position from Simone Verna. And now the pressure of being in between a rock and a hard place for Simone Verna, with Simone Seminara just behind. Remember, this is the battle for the final qualifying position for the GT4. This is what it's all about, the playoffs for the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals. If you have just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome. You haven't missed too much, but it is an hour and a half to go. It's Dave Christie on the commentary here with my very good friend Mike Nice, keeping you up to date with everything that's going on. Remember, top 3 qualify for the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals coming up in just 2 weeks' time. And as if there was anything more at stake here, Mike, it's just so delicately balanced, and yet on top of that, you just know the Spansky Zampedri battle for the lead is just taking a brief pause. It's not over yet.
Oh, most certainly not, as we have an hour and 32 minutes left to go, and that battle is far from done. And I know some people in chat, they are going to be asking, what is the Grand Finals? Well, the Grand Finals, we are going to be seeing a lot of cars out on track. 58 in total. Currently 55 are qualified. These are going to be the final 3 GT4 slots with 33 GT3 cars and 25 GT4s. There is going to be some amazing racing on that day, and if you guys are going to be around on the 11th, make sure you guys have that on your calendar. Do not miss a second of it, because I personally cannot wait, David.
It's going to be beyond epic, honestly. It's one of those events that you just get so excited for, because the build up to it, if this is anything to go by, dear God, this is going to be incredible. And remember, these drivers and teams are just fighting for the chance to race in that competition. So if this is anything to go by, this is going to be amazing stuff. But we've got an hour and a half left to go, so we're about 30 minutes away, roughly, give or take, about sort of 5-10 minutes either side of pit stops coming in, where we hand the cars over to their teammates and we get the final half of this race undone. Now, remember, what we've seen time and time again here, Mike, as well, is, do they put the faster driver in first? Do we have more in the tank? Or, are we going to have a driver that maybe can't deal with the car as it is in its current condition? So many moving parts in this, yet to be answered in the next sort of 35 minutes or so. But again, Verna just behind. Steinbrenner moves to the outside line here into Tamburello. Seminara fancies it as well. Again, Steinbrenner points that car in the middle of the track here. There is just no room at the end for Simone Verna to go round.
That is the widest Alpine that I've ever seen from the 255 of Steinbrenner, but I think we may finally see a move done, but no, we're going to see it washing wide onto the rumble strips, not able to do it. That Villeneuve chicane is not a good overtaking opportunity so far, at least from these drivers. They have not quite been able to make one stick just yet. Now heading on to Piratella. Look at that. You see that picture? It looks like one car. They are all so close to each other. Those 3 all within the same camera shot. Behind, we do also have Revsik with a 10-second penalty for, I think that was causing collision. We saw that briefly. But Seminara in P5 right now, hunting down Verna. Looking back a little bit further, this is the 297 of Nautens in P13. We're going to go side by side right now with, I think that's Schmidt in front. Schmidt managing to get that overtake done early, actually, as before they even reach Piratella. Must have been a little bit of an error from Nautens. I'm not sure, didn't quite catch that, unfortunately, but still a nice 5-way bout here for P12, heading on to the 16th lap.
Awesome, awesome stuff. You can see Thomas Morant, who'll be trying to get into that as well, but he's got a 15-second time penalty to be added on here. But as you said, I mean, a fascinating, almost 6-car fight here for 13th position. Norton's in there, Thomas is in there, you've got Schmidt as well, Christoph Salmon. It is just wild stuff. And I tell you what, that Red King's car just in front, the 666 of Thomas, looking a little bit worse for wear, trying to make a move down into that final corner section here. Again, almost stumbling for words here, trying to figure out what the hell is going on as they go around Ravazza as well. 5 cars in one very, very small space. But a beautiful, beautiful effort there from Michael Thomas right now. And he's off like a shot. And these GT4s aren't the fastest on acceleration, but that thing is absolutely gone just now here, Mike.
Yeah, most certainly. Heading now down the start-finish straight, you can see no gap between Samin, I think that is going out on the inside, is bumping him, banging. Christoph Samin gets hit, but that car remains as solid as a brick house. My goodness. How did that Alpine not move from that contact? That was quite a heavy hit. Both cars managing to regain the same position. And nonetheless, that does bring another car into the mix here behind them. Oh my goodness, is that Reggie behind? I think it is. Corselli?
I think you're spot on with that. Is Corsetto. I was just noticing as well, car just in front there, going very, very slow indeed. As back with who are we on board with now? Yehor Vudetsky in the 141. Now, they're behind Brett in that battle for P10 just now, but I'm also seeing that Pansky has done the fastest, Adam Spansky done the fastest lap of the race there, and has now opened up that gap to 1.5 seconds. So Adam obviously feels like it's go time for that GT4 in the front of that pack there, as Simone Werner drops back 0.7 of a second behind Nils Steinbrenner. So Steinbrenner might get a little bit of breathing space here now, because the two Simones, Werner and Seminara, I think they're now fighting it out for 4th and 5th, and they might just give a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah, Zampedri going to be a bit more comfortable with that 8.5 second gap to Steinbrenner behind. Even if he does catch with Spansky here in the next few laps, we may see them actually have a bit of a scrap. 2 penalties though coming up here with car 177 and number 14 having a 15 second penalty there for the number 14 for causing a collision, as well as 141 and 297. Car number 297 with a final warning for aggressive driving. So needs to keep an eye there on the driving standards, David.
Yeah, you're not going to get too many of those warnings, and they've obviously just been told by race control, that's it, sort it out, otherwise you're going to be getting us to deal with later on. But that was a great move there by Vudetsky into that 10th position there from the 438 car, that STR Esports car of Peter Brett. So again, all these fascinating little battles that are going on throughout the course of the race here. Interestingly, this pendulum has swung back the other way. Do you remember about 8 seconds ago when I said Simone Werner and Seminara were fighting each other? Well, that's now disappeared, because Werner's back onto the tail end of Steinbrenner in that 3rd place, and that's a car into the wall at the exit of Posa, and Ryan Yee heading off from the scene of the accident like a very, very guilty person there, Mike.
Yeah, I think that was Camille Ta, the number 67 Alpine, with a bit of an error there on the loud pedal too early, maybe a bit of contact, I'm not sure, didn't quite catch that one, but nonetheless rejoining safely and back on the road quickly. We'll be able to get that head back down hopefully and continue on. Werner though is going to be fully head down. A little bit of a red mist they're seeing in their eyes right now. Let's hope it doesn't impede their vision into the braking zone, as coming up there is not too much separating both Werner and Steinbrenner. Looking at the slip road here, we can see it now into the first chicane. Replay here popping up from a previous incident. We're looking now down the inside here. Big send, way late on the brakes there. And kind of hard to see from that onboard. I actually could not really tell what happened there.
I think they just went way too deep into the corner and completely lost control, and the 67 Petrol Aficionado's car was kind of the only person involved in that instance. Somehow, I mean, I've got no idea how that car that was in front didn't get tangled up with it, but that was firmly a one-car accident with that number 67. So that was a great ID on that one, because that was indeed Camille Taha that was involved in this one. But again, It's so strange here, Mike, is that again I'm lost for words, because how often have we seen this in the past 5 laps where, you know, this gap it expands and then it contracts and then it expands again, and then Steinbrenner's fighting Verna and Seminara, and then Seminara drops off, and then it's just Verna, and then Verna drops off. It's honestly, it's just so difficult to try and keep up with this, and we've only got, what, 25 minutes left of these drivers in these cars. Strategy, I think, is going to turn this race completely on its head.
Yeah, most certainly. Steinbrenner has seemingly been struggling behind the wheel of that Alpine, but just as of the past few laps has really come to grip with it and actually just set his fastest lap of a 50.0, almost encroaching into the 49s here. But Verna firmly into the 49s, a 149.5 in the previous lap. That is why that gap is closed so much. It is one thing to catch, though. It's another thing to overtake, especially here at Imola. You need a good pace advantage. Simone Verna definitely has it, but has not been able to make the overtake yet. We're looking here back up at the front, Verna with a look into Tamburillo, but once again, in fact, actually not even a look, just sticking behind for right now, biding his time and waiting, not wanting to go for anything too rash or bold, and ending up into the gravel trap, or even worse, the barrier.
Oh, that's disappointing. Send it. Come on, just send it. Give us some entertainment here. This is what we want.
Listening.
Exactly. Just to give a quick shout out to everyone that's on the YouTube chat just now. We'll do that in a second, because Toza is becoming a little bit of a hotbed of activity just now. Verna has to drop back and think better of it. But good afternoon to H, who is a regular of the SimGrid YouTube channel here. Saying there's not enough carnage for a GT4 race. Whatever do you mean? Are you trying to imply that GT4 races are a hotbed of chaos and misery? That's just not true whatsoever. Dexter Morgan said that the reason that the 297 Cronus Racing Team car is dropping back, they've got a red engine. That's why. I'm not sure I get that. Mike, am I old here? Am I missing a meme or something like that?
No, so what happens in ACC is you have a little engine light in your bottom right-hand corner, and it wears just like your engine in real life. So if you do over-rev it, it will actually have a check engine light that pops on due to the fact that you're actually over-driving the car, over-revving it, downshifting too early. There's a various amount of issues that could cause that, but this early in the race, that is absolutely shocking to hear. Normally, red engine lights don't come on until the end of 6-hour races, and even that is a bit of a surprise. You really must be hammering those gears down in order for that to happen within 40 minutes. Wow, that is early.
That certainly is, and I'll be honest, I was thinking it was a reference to like a paint scheme or something like that. So just ignore me. Okay, it's there's your certified David Christie being an idiot during the stream moment for you just now. But on top of that, Norton's has also got, I've just noticed, a 5-second time penalty. So that's going to be insult to injury for that 297. And is it just me here, Mike, or is the body language of that Verna car, that 201 SPQ racing team, it's a little more aggressive now, like the patience has firmly run out behind the wheel with Simone?
Yeah, I think that is the best way of describing it. Impatience is what it's looking like behind the wheel here of Simone Verna. And there's a good reason for that. As you can see, Simone Seminari behind is actually really closing in, and he's pushing to the absolute limit there, getting some oversteer on exit, and looking to make his way into this fight and make it a 3-way scrap for the podium position, or excuse me, for P4. No, podium position, excuse me. Yes, I was correct. Podium paying positions here.
You see, that's my incompetence rubbing off on you, Mike. You see, you're perfectly fine until I lost the plot here. But we're still watching Simone Verna as they come up to the chicane. Then a little look to the inside. It's never going to happen here. Trying to put Steinbrenner off. It's going to take a little bit more than that just now. But also, while this is going on, that's a 10-second gap up to Mattia Zampedri. So, you know, barring a penalty or any sort of issue, I mean, it's difficult to see how those top 2 places can go, as that's very late onto the brakes for Simone Verna. Very, very late onto the brakes indeed. Almost collecting the car in front of Steinbrenner through Ravazza. They exit once again, but this is it. This is now Simone Seminara's chance here, because they're closer than they've ever been before, locked onto the back bumper of the Alpine GT4 as they go across the start-finish line side by side. It's maybe going to be 3 wide going into Tamburello, and they think better of it. I'm kind of glad there, because that could have gone very, very wrong very, very quickly indeed. But again, 20 minutes left to go, I think, in this first stint of the race.
Yeah, most certainly. Simone, after that final corner there through Ravazza, is going to be needing a new change of underwear come the pit stop phase. But for now, carrying on in P4. Luckily, nothing happening just yet. Almost collecting, though, the rear bumper of Steinbrenner, and then almost losing the position to Semerna behind. So far, though, no changes in position. Looking a bit further down the grid here, we're looking at P21, Ryan Yee, the 818 Alpine, which has had not the greatest start to this race. Started up very high in terms of positions, actually in P11, and is down 10 positions to 21, the Canadian driver. Gonna be a little unhappy with that, I presume, but still with a head in the fight, looking to gain some positions towards Lucas Lichten there, who is currently in P19 in that McLaren, our biggest gainer out on track.
He certainly is, and a grand job that he's done so far. But a beautiful little four-car battle, as we said, between all of these drivers just now. It's the battle between Lichten, Moffat, Yee, and Peters Veem for 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. As Ryan Yee for Trackalicious has a look on the outside, but again, like all the other cars here, in between a rock and a hard place. Because if he goes for that move and it doesn't pull off, then he's got Peters Veem just behind him, who would be very, very grateful to take that 21st position off them just now. The Porsches at the moment, you've got Zupanchik down in 26th and Crady in 29th position as well. And again, I think that in hindsight, maybe they would have wanted to take a different car on this, but it is what it is, and we've got a yellow flag because we've got another car off, and that is a lengthy yellow flag. It has just been cleared now, so I get the feeling that might have been at the chicane there. But again, with so much going on through the circuit here, Mike, as we cut back to our top three, is that a lapped car that's just getting out of the way? I think that's big damage on that car.
Yeah, that is, as I try to find out who that is exactly here, we can see that is going to be the lapped car of the number 43, currently in P28 actually. So now approaching lap traffic. That is the first of our lap traffic here tonight. Zampedri up at the and as well up at the front. We're taking a look here at the car 43 incident. Heading now into the first chicane. It looks, or is this Tosa? It's hard to tell. Ooh, big curbage usage through the first chicane there, and the 43 gets stranded and beached in the midst of the corners. It goes out to the gravel trap there and is going to rejoin safely, but looks like the car also died there momentarily and struggling to get it restarted. Bit of time spent off track, but nonetheless rejoining the action with Verna and Seminara behind Steinbrenner. Credit where credit is due. This man is defending like an absolute legend so far in this race, but can he keep it up? At least towards the end of his stint when he hands the car over, I think he'd be happy if he can finish this on the podium places, David.
I'm going to throw a little bit of a rumour in here, a little bit of a plot twist on that. So we saw that replay of the car spinning. However, what I've just realised, or what I'm thinking is, I think that was Adam Spansky, a race leader that he actually collided with. On that one. Again, there's nothing in the timings to suggest that that's caused any damage to that car, but just from the livery on it and from the position on the track, I think that might have been a race leader that was that car was colliding with, certainly as our race leader was going to overtake potentially. I think it was, yeah, that the livery looks, I thought it was the Apex 1 livery that went through. Doesn't look to be any major damage on it, but we'll keep an eye on that. However, Simone Verna here, and if it is the case, then I'm absolutely taking that, because it's about the first time that I've got anything right during commentary by paying attention here. But Simone Verna all over the back of Nils Steinbrenner here. And I tell you who I am feeling sorry for right now, Max Florence there in 6th position. He is probably the world's most patient driver right now. He's just like not wanting anything to do with this. He's about a second back and he's staying there because I think he knows this is going to go to hell and a handbasket with these three cars right now. So he's keeping himself within contention, but far enough back to react to anything that goes on here just now. And Simone Verna then in that meat sandwich, and just hearing from broadcast production confirmation, that's it. I've had my quota of getting one thing right for the day, Mike, so I'm just going to hang up my headset and just call that a day.
Fair enough, David. Simone here is going to be really feeling the pressure, I predict, at this point, as I will say, yeah, with Max Florence behind, Max is looking like he's going to sneak up for a really strong result here at the end and could even secure that last slot onto the podium to bring his way into the Grand Finals on the 11th. For right now, though, with 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 12 seconds left, we will see these drivers potentially start to get ready for some pit phase. This would be very early of a stop, but we are at this point in time where oh, no, we're not. We're at 75 minutes now. It was, of course, the lead up to the road to the Grand Finals. All of the races had 4 mandatory tires, and with the 75-minute stint timer. So this race a little bit different in format than the drivers are used to. But now Simone, he's getting aggressive. You can see him biting at the rear diffuser there of the car in front. Neil Steinbrenner really going to be feeling it now, but he has so far put up a very ample defense and looking to keep that up from here on.
Yeah, there's not been any excessive weaving from Steinbrenner. He's just put that car right in the middle of the track, right where it needs to be, but not if you're Simone Verna. It's a frustrating affair here, but certainly now this is definitely going to be a 4-car battle for that final third position, qualifying position. Again, just put it in the middle of the track, making sure that Piratella is not going to be an option here, although it goes very, very wide on the exit of Piratella on the run down to Acqua Minerale. Is it going to be a move up the inside? You get the feeling, and again, looking at my crystal ball here, I think that Verna's going to try and seize an opportunity that's not going to be there, and that the two of them are going to end up colliding with each other. You just get the feeling from the way that Verna's now, it was very smooth and calculated earlier on. I mean, look at the way Steinbrenner's driving now. He's not weaving about, he's not looking left and right, but you know, we're seeing that with that 4th position car. They want to get that, as that's a huge send from Daniel Moffat up the inside of Lichten in that McLaren. Gets the position. That's going to be 19th place for Daniel Moffat for Sim Seniors Endurance Racing, and that was a very, very nice move indeed.
I would call that one textbook, as we saw in chat earlier. That is what you call a textbook overtake. Lick the stamp and send it, Lucas Lichten, without a response. And he may try to come back here into Acqua Minerale, but for now is going to have to hold back. Simone Verna is getting impatient as ever. Side by side we go down the start-finish straight into Tamburillo. There's big contact, as David predicted. Off the track goes the 255, and who is that slipping up the inside? That is going to be Simone Verna, who is taking the advantage in both positions handily in one corner. David, you could not have called that any handily. That was exactly what happened with these two. A bit of contact, and Simone claims the title here, but it's not done yet.
Oh my lord, this is going to get very, very ugly very quickly now, because Simone Verna feels absolutely aggrieved by that moment with Neil Steinbrenner. I've got to say, it was very questionable by Steinbrenner. Looked like that car drove Verna off the track on the left-hand side there before all that happens here. However, I mean, look, this is just going to devolve into a melee. A fist fight as wide goes Simone Seminara. An unforced error. The first sign of any real pressure, and Seminara crumbles like a cheap suit. This is back on then, as into the fight. Simone Verna, it's as you were. Oh my lord, Mike. In the space of one lap, I think we've had third position change 4 times.
Yeah. It is a knife fight in a phone booth here, and only one of these drivers can actually get out of it and into that Grand Finals position here, at least as it stands. 14 and a half seconds, 15 seconds now is the gap to the 2 leaders. They are very happy with their position right now in this race as they head towards that middle phase of the race, approaching the pit stop. And we, of course, around that 65-minute mark, that will be when we see the drivers coming in and able to complete it all the way to the end. We'll see the undercuts happening around that time, but I do predict most drivers will go all the way towards the 55 minutes left in the race. Verna here returning with the action. Still not done yet, and neither is the 5-6-3 coming now around. And we also see here Daniel Moffat losing 2 positions after getting by the McLaren. So a bit of an incident potentially happening there. He's not going to be too happy with that, but back on the charge side by side, heading into the Ravats as we go. Move on to the inside, and it looks like a switchback attempt with a bit of contact. Actually forces the 1-2-3 into the gravel trap. That will allow the 95 here to sneak up the inside as they go side by side with some bumping and banging, David, onto the start-finish straight.
Oh, this is amazing now. It's like in the space of 5 minutes, the gloves are off. Everybody's just battering lumps out of everybody else. I mean, you saw Ryan Yee just unashamedly punt that car into the gravel there. It came back on and decided to have its own way as well, as we've got Simone Seminara now really losing the plot here, down to 6th position, and Max Florence is thinking all his Christmases have come at once right now, up into P5 and within a shout of catching onto the back of Simone Werner and Nils Steinbrenner. So again, with 8 minutes left to go in the top of the hour here, this is still far too close to call here. It's just every single person for themselves, and then we're going to have a change of personnel to contend with as well. What are their driving mannerisms going to be like? What are they going to be like behind the wheel? But we can see just in the background there, or in the foreground rather, Simone Werner right again onto that back bumper of Nils Steinbrenner here just now as we go on to lap number 28. And again, I absolutely have the gut feeling one of these cars is going to end up completely out the race and into the wall.
Yeah, Simone Werner up ahead was making a lunge there on to Steinbrenner once again. These two, no love lost at this point in the race, that's for sure. I would imagine these two are going to buy each other a nice hearty drink after this because, wow, they are putting on quite the show and getting to know each other very well. We see as well, as it just popped up, oh, actually, hold on. We see a move onto the outside. It's going to be a tough one for the 201. The outside line there through Tosa, very unfavorable as the marbles will just result in you understeering to oblivion and getting an absolutely atrocious exit up towards Piratella. But nonetheless, you can see that a piece of paper is basically all you could fit between these two cars as they come through now. But a drive-through penalty picked up for P22. And one thing that I saw earlier, Werner was experimenting a little bit with pushing the track and potentially picked up 1 or 2 of those. Now, 4 off tracks with an advantage gained, that will result in the stewards not too thrilled with your driving standards and a drive-through penalty being picked up.
Yeah, that's right. It's all automated essentially with these track limits, and it gets given out completely. And there we go, the drive-through being taken, that car into the pits, and of course they can't serve that at the same time as doing their pit stop, so they have to do a drive-through as well as a pit stop. Of course, essentially no mandatory pit stop, but there is a mandatory pit stop, if that makes sense, because the maximum driving time that a driver can do in one stint is 65 minutes, but total is 90 minutes, so they have to hand that car over at some point to their teammate. As we see Ryan Yee properly getting the elbows out here, and the number 77 car, that Team Iris car of Lucas Lichten, yeah, it's safe to say the two of them are going to leave with a couple of black eyes in the morning, because this is getting very physical indeed. Both of them are going to have to spend about 20 minutes exchanging details for the virtual insurance afterwards on this. As you can see, Daniel Moffat as well in that 1-2-3 behind, trying to make the most of this and get in. Bit of contact with the Mercedes, the Alpine sent into the air there, and I think there might be a brake failure on that McLaren a little bit further on here. But back to this fight for third position. This is not ending anytime soon, is it? This is just a gift, Mike, that keeps on giving right now.
No, we've had about 29 laps so far of this, and for anyone curious, we are 29 laps into the race, so these two have basically been glued to each other for the entirety of it, and now have a couple more friends even to join them in the background. And wow, these two putting on quite the show. Just wanted to touch on real quick that previous battle that we were seeing there between both Ryan Yee as well as Lucas Lichten. Those two actually qualified in the same championship, so have actually raced each other a fair share of times. They know each other's driving very well, so they will be, I would presume, having a talk after the race regardless of what happens. Very nice one, not an aggressive one. But up at the front here, Werner chasing Steinbrenner, still not able to do anything. I gotta give credit once again where credit's due. Steinbrenner is a legend for holding on for as long as he had. I would have put a tire into the gravel, went off into the grass, went off into the barrier, but now we see our first real strategic call here of the night as we approach that 65-minute mark, now able to go green, green, green to the end. Now we see Simone Werner in the pits.
Yeah, that might be a huge move there for the number 201 SPQ Racing team driver here, as we see side-by-side action coming down into the final couple of corners here just now through into that left-hander there at Ravata. The two cars decide to give a little bit of leeway as the number 9 Pit Stop UK of Yannick Schmidt has to give that position essentially to DC Sim Racing's Christoph Salmon, and yet again more cars in the background heading into the pits here. This might be an inspired moment for Simone Werner, trying to possibly think about the undercut here, but again on top of that, that car's going to be handed over to Matteo Scinotti, and it's all going to be about how aggressive and how fast that Matteo is behind the wheel here, as we're watching Adam Spansky for Apex 1 ex pit lane racing, currently leading this race by what is 4.1 seconds. So at the moment, you've got to say here, Mike, this car looking very firm and very comfortable up there in front and controlling the race.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, his lap this time around was 0.3 off of the fastest lap of the race, which is at a 1:49.1 currently, and it's set by none other than Spansky himself. So I predict he is going to stay out for as long as he really can. 90 minutes is going to be the limit when it comes to stint timers. Of course, 65 minutes 65 minutes is the limit with stint timers. My apologies. So they will be coming in by that 55-minute mark, but I think Spansky going to be using all of the time here, trying to hold that track position rather than going for the undercut. We see some drivers trying to go for that fresher rubber, get some better laps down in and get the position out of sequence there with the other drivers, but towards the end of the race, that will hurt them. They're going to be lacking in terms of grip, and the drivers that take that later pit stop will be rewarded then, but that is later. Now is now, and we see Ryan Yee currently right behind Moffitt as well as Lichten.
Certainly do. And again, you can see those penalties that are going to have to be served in the pit stops as well. As we rapidly approach the halfway point of this race, you would be forgiven for thinking that this is an Alpine stock car race with a couple of extra cars dotted in, but we assure you it is not as a free choice. This is just the way the cookie crumbles with the car meta, and it seems to chop and change with every single update from Kuros. It's a simple case of the teams wanting to take whatever advantage they possibly can, and deciding that you have to stick with the fastest cars that you possibly can have. And one of the things that I love, I don't do a lot of GT4 commentary, it's usually with the GT3s, and whenever you see the GT4s, I can't help but feel how adorable they look in comparison. They're absolutely titchy little things, but when you see them in real life, they're actually much bigger than you think they are, and it's so rare that we've really not seen the Alpine out in action for quite a while in the GT4s, and with this 1.9 update really facing quite a resurgence. But back up the front then, it looks like Max Florenz is the one to add pressure now to Niall Steinbrenner, because that is 0.3 of a second behind there. And Steinbrenner, I've just noticed, has got a 5-second penalty there, so possibly for that contact that was done with Simone Werner. That could be absolutely huge. Her final qualifying position goes into the pit lane, but that's a 5-second penalty that'll be served right now, and there's confirmation.
Yep, a little contact between him and the number 255 and the 201, unfortunately there, but it will have to be served in the pit stop. They will have to remain stationary for 5 seconds before the jacks are able to lift them and the mechanics are able to work on the car. You can see that penalty has been cleared now, and they can continue green for the rest of this race, but that will hurt them. That's not going to hurt them just one position. In fact, that could be all 3 of those positions that we saw battling. In fact, it more than likely will be the 3 of those positions, maybe even a couple more. I think there was a far enough gap to the car behind when entering the pits, but I'm not sure as well. This could be really the difference, as you said, between a terrible result and the final qualifying slot into the VCO road to the Grand Finals.
Well, 3 places up for grabs in these playoffs, and they are being fought over tooth and nail just now, as we are just 10 seconds away from that halfway point. An hour done and dusted already. A lot of dust has settled, but you get the feeling that so much more has left to be figured out, and exactly what is going to unfold. Let's have a look at what happens to the number 41 then, into Aqua Minerale. Takes the curb on the left-hand side, loses control, goes into the path of another car there, and again back into the middle of the road there, and the Box 3 Sports there. And again, that was another car you were telling us to watch out for. That was Charlie Booth and Brandon Pfeiffer behind the wheel of that one. Again, getting clattered about, and that is not going to do their race any good whatsoever.
No, you really don't expect that out of Charlie Booth, that's for sure. Kiwi driver, man who has a lot of experience a lot of experience behind the wheel, both in real-life racing and in sim. So the fact that Charlie makes a very uncharacteristic mistake like that is quite surprising, but as you said, the GT4 is not the most common cars, and some drivers just not quite up to the caliber when it comes to the GT4s as they are in GT3s. It is a significant difference. The car feel is very much... I mean, you can feel it. If you haven't driven the GT4s, these cars are, in comparison to the GT3s, a lot slower. They're a lot clunkier in the corners, but in terms of, well, mainly just their mechanical grip, you can feel a lot more with them. The entry speed, you got to have a little bit earlier braking, a little bit earlier turn in, but as a result, that means you're going to carry more speed through the corner in terms of minimum speed there. Obviously, GT3s are just quicker all around, but the GT4s are extremely fun and not to be taken anything away from, because these cars are still around the 450 brake horsepower power rating, I think, if not even a little bit more than that.
And the thing with that as well is that it's we spoke about this earlier, it's just a different driving style compared to the GT3. It's a much more patient driving style that you've got. They don't have the huge brakes that the GT3s have, so they don't have the insane stopping power that their bigger brothers have. But that means that it's much more about just leaning the car in, using the inertia, using the weight, and being more sympathetic, I think, with the car as well, as we see Adam Szczepanski then into pit lane, as does Zampedri into the pit lane then. So it looks like Szczepanski waiting to hold out for another lap there, as that gap was around about 4 seconds. We're seeing Yannick Schmidt. This is really the cars that haven't pitted just now, but they have to think about this, because they're going to have to pit at the end of this lap here, Mike.
Yeah, they have no choice to pit at the end of this lap, of course, with a 65-minute stint timer. Otherwise, they will be receiving a hefty penalty that they most certainly do not want to serve. So in order to not serve that penalty, all they have to do is follow the rules of the race and make a pit stop, and not necessarily a driver change, but at the very least take some fuel on, as well as probably a new set of boots, but also probably do a driver change, as you do have a maximum 90-minute stint timer. I think we did see one driver come into the pits a little bit earlier than that. I'm not sure if that is going to put them out of sequence or not. I think it, well, most certainly will. Nonetheless, Adam Szczepanski should be coming in this lap regardless of what happens.
Well, that's what we're going to wait and see. But again, 56 minutes left to go. Simonietta behind the wheel of the 204 Absolute Motorsport Acelith car, then taking over that from Matteo Zampedri there, as they will be exiting pit lane in that second place almost certainly. But again, it's waiting to see where everyone else circles out just now. At the moment, Zuvdevsky into the pit lane as well. They'll be handed over to their teammate in that 141 Ukraine Digital Force. That is going to be Alexander Nyetsin behind the wheel very shortly for that just now. But Szczepanski now going to have to come in this one. There's not going to be time to do another lap, so Szczepanski comes in behind that 65-minute driving stint limit. And again, now we get the second tail of the race here. It's almost we get two races in one. We had one where we got a lot of action, but this one, I think we are not even going to realise how awesome this is going to be. It looks like we've got the 199 up into third position, so that is going to be Yanis Reinders for SG Stern, and that could be the big change here, because remember there was that 5-second penalty here, Mike, and that number 201 car of SVQ Racing Team of Matteo Scinotti now behind the wheel. They're now 1.7 seconds behind, but with the pace that 199 car had, I didn't think it was the fastest of that bunch. So with the fact that the 563 Team Balance Esports car is still there as well, I've got no doubt that we're away to see some fisticuffs again very shortly.
Yeah, most certainly. Needs to get the heat into the tires there, does Yanis Reinders? Apologies on this pronunciation. Felipe here, though, on the chase. Currently coming through the top of the hairpin now through Alta, chasing him down the hill again. Will he have a look into the Ravazzas? He is a bit too far back for right now. The Team Ballast Esports making a move there onto the SPQR. Yellow. That's going to be the leader coming out of the pits. Adam Szczepanski handing the car over to Warner, I predict. Chris Warner going to be taking the wheel there, and for the next hour as well. Lots of work ahead for some of these drivers, especially Felipe here behind the wheel, behind the likes of Matteo Scinotti, who now gets to show his talent and what he can do here with a great view under the front splitter there. Following alongside, you can see that slipstream gaining and gaining as we approach the braking marker here, looking for the slip road off to the right. Kind of hard to see from there. Nonetheless, under braking, you can see an alternate line being taken. A little switchback attempt as the car gets unsettled mid-corner. A great view there to see the weight change through that GT4 car and the reactive suspension that we see that was improved around that 1.9 update. Such a good update that it was. You can see cutting off that apex early there is Sinotti, and Felipe not quite able to respond just yet, but definitely do not count him out, as that last lap was actually quicker than Sinotti in front, only by a few ten thousandths of a second, but nonetheless quicker still.
And with that then, that does mean that, as I said, we've got a three-car fight essentially for that final position. But while these two are fighting out, we've got more penalties coming in after the pit stops are done. So Timmermans and Spangler both have 5-second penalties. But the more that Sinotti and Felipe fight with themselves, they're allowing that 199 SG Stern car of Janus Reinders to just head off into the sunset. They need to kind of work together here to try and catch up to that car, because at the moment that's now 2.5 seconds in front. But I mean, you've got to be fair, 17.5 seconds to Simonietta in second place, and then 6 seconds up to Warner in the lead right now. Chris Warner, I mean, we have to talk a little bit about Apex One. They have been absolutely just dominant.
Yeah, so far they have led the race from the beginning. Actually, did take the lead on the first, or not the first lap, but on one of the beginning laps. And load of incidents happening here. We see 3 penalties coming in for all causing a collision. The car 818, car number 112, and car 123 all getting involved. 10 seconds or 5 seconds for the first two, and 10 for the 123, all causing a collision there. Need to keep the bumping and banging to a minimum here, but as every penalty, especially in a 2-hour race, really can hurt you. In a 6-hour race, a 5-second penalty isn't the biggest deal. It still hurts. But at the end of the day, here in a 2-hour race, it really can be the difference of a truly good position and a truly terrible one at the end, especially with the stakes on the line, the top 3 making their way into the Grand Finals here on November 11th.
We're getting to the point where it's like that Oprah meme, isn't it? You know, you get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty. Everybody gets a penalty right now. Thankfully, apart from our top 3 at the moment. But again, it just shows how quickly your race can be torpedoed by an unlikely event. And it just makes you wonder about whether or not you can still be aggressive and hold on without actually putting yourself in any risk whatsoever. That's going to be the question on the lips of the drivers over the next 50 minutes here for these GT4 playoffs, as we're watching Nick Timmermans here for DC Sim Racing coming under pressure there from Tempest, who just absolutely flies by that car like they're not even there. So Tempest in the 137 Toyota eSports car, Sean Tempest, that was a little bit eyebrow raising, because obviously it's not a position where you expect the car to go, but it looked more like Timmermans kind of struggling for pace on the exit of that corner.
I think with Timmermans' 5-second penalty, he maybe just let him by there, as yeah, that was a very uncharacteristic spot for an overtake, and it looked way too easy. But could have been a mistake, regardless. Good driving there, and that position gained is a position gain, so not looking back at this point will be Tempest. Up at the front, though, we do have Felipe and Sinotti. Sinotti, he is going to be looking behind. Hopefully he's not fixated in those mirrors, as there is a car currently on his outside and way later on the brakes than him. And look at that. Lick the stamp and send it. Great job from Felipe. Makes that overtake happen here on lap 37, but it's not done yet. Sinotti going to be coming around the outside of Villeneuve, looking to take the inside line on the second part of the chicane. Sticks with him for now, but as they wash wide onto the rumble strips, I think that is the position firmly done and dusted for Felipe.
Yeah, that was an awesome move. Great to see that done and dusted, and that's exactly what you want to see on that one. So great position change there. Now it's all going to be a case of chasing down third place for that final playoff spot just now. But plasma oxygen here for SR Esports we're watching just now in the few of the non-Alpines just now. 21st position. That's actually a good recovery because they were around about 24th or 25th before the pit stop, so just behind the number 77 car, the Team Iris Mercedes of Chris Davis just now. And again, while the McLaren, sorry, not Mercedes, the McLaren did have a great start to the race, it has kind of been falling backwards a little bit, and I wonder if that's going to be another position lost for that McLaren there, Mike.
Yeah, I think that damage that they picked up early on really put a damper on their race. We are currently watching here Felipe trying to extend that gap to the SPQR, SPQR. Apologies on that.
I've said that numerous times as well. SPQ Racing.
It is SPQR. Yes. Okay. I just wasn't sure. There's lots of communities in here that all have very, very similar acronyms when it comes to their names. And I just want to make sure I'm getting them proper. Of course, SPQR, the Italian team. I think they were driving the Ferrari 296 in the qualifying series, so moving over to the Alpine, that's got to be quite the change, but they have managed to get grips with it very, very quickly.
Yeah, they certainly have, and they've done well. And the thing is that obviously we're making a great song and dance about the top three because they qualify, but I mean, my goodness me, what an effort has been done in this race. And I'm going to say this now because we're into an hour into the race there, as that was optimistic, I think we'll say, from the number 9 there of Chris Martin for Pit Stop UK. Tried to send it up Ravazza and decided to go and play on the beach instead. An hour into this race here, this is definitely an exemplary race here for the communities because it's just so clean. There's been a few incidents, sure, dotted throughout the field here, but again, having done quite a few different races here on ACC, this is what makes me happy, is because this is the way racing's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about who's best on track and not about who gets caught up in incidents and who gets wiped out. And yeah, it's great to see. What I was hearing from our production team as well, Mike, is that Chris Warner actually in the lead of the race was about a second slower on that last lap there, presumably with this traffic that's around him.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a invalidation on that lap, so potentially a bit deep through a corner, maybe getting held up by a back marker at a certain point and get caught up in some dirty air. Regardless, losing about, taking a look at the timing charts, actually not too much. Still lapping in the 149, so still quickest, almost on track. Actually, Lucas Tippach in P6 lapping up there with the leaders, and so is Felipe in 4th. So we have some real chances on our hands here for some positions. I do not think the top 3 is sold just yet, as Giannis Renders, I apologize for the mispronunciation there, is going to be probably pressured by Felipe. Felipe lapping 0.3 quicker last lap, but still improving this lap as well. Needs to be careful of Matteo behind. We're looking here at Gabriel Nibite in P15, who is under some big pressure right now. Sean Tempest, who managed to make a lovely overtake on Timmermans behind, which we caught a glimpse of. A very opportunistic one. Can he do something similar here in this train of cars? You can see, I think, is that the number 93 ahead of them as well? I'm not sure. But regardless, this is a very tight field here as they come down the start-finish straight. I think that is lap traffic, the number 9 getting out of the way. No, that is for position.
Yeah, that is position there. Chris Martin, trying to hold on, and does hold on in that number 9, and that means that the 137 gets through as well then. So the Dakota Esports car of Sean Tempest, very, very opportunistic there, makes his way past Gabriel Mbite in that DSRT RJB Solutions car. They're all fighting coming out of Villeneuve, that second chicane, as into Tosa then, as a move up the inside from Timmermans as well. Manages to get that done up the inside of Solan. So Solan drops down to P18 just now as well. And again, they're all fighting tooth and nail. But again, it's done with precision. It's done so well and so cleanly as well. With 45 minutes left to go, Sean Tempest tries to go around the outside, cuts back to the inside of Chris Martin through into Aquaminerale there, gets a good run out of the corner. As on Twitch chat, we've got Huff Manic is sorry, it was Edo the G asking what happened to Charlie, and I'm going to presume he's asking about Charlie Booth for Box 3 Esports, and the answer is Charlie Booth happened to Charlie Booth because he lost at Aqua Minerale, got hit by a couple of cars, and then went plummeting down the order. Box 3 Esports currently down in 24th position. Hopefully that clears that one up for you. And if you're actually talking about Charlie Kent in the Biscuit Motorsport number 95, then I couldn't actually tell you, because we haven't really seen Charlie through this one. But 45 minutes left to go here, and I get the feeling that our top three might start to be a little solidified, because Felipe 4.7 seconds off here, Mike, as we're watching Sean Tempest again trying to take on Chris Martin.
Yeah, he does have some other problems at hand behind, but right now, Sean Tempest, lovely attempt here, is going to stick with it for now on in the back. Bit of a wobble there for the number 9. That should give a good run into the chicane coming up, but who is that creeping up in the mirror? That is going to be, I think, none other than the 112 there of Timmermans, if I'm not mistaken. Or is that Mbate?
I think that's the 831 of Nabate. So, yeah, trying to go around the outside of Tulsa, that's not going to work. Going to leave them very vulnerable to Timmermans as well. And again, I mean, you'd think, right, this is for 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th. So you think, oh, well, the racing's not going to be as intense. My God, I mean, you'd think these four here were fighting for the overall race win. It's awesome stuff. And this is what I love about sim racing, is that you take any cars out there on track, and your inbuilt instinct is you want to put that accelerator down just a little bit further than the car next to you. You want, by default, to try and get ahead of that car in front of you as they go almost 3 wide into that chicane.
Very tight margins here. The Lightspeed Racing, you can see, went for a look, but got a little out of shape on exit up ahead here. Nick Timmermans with a perfect view, also with a 5-second penalty to be served at post-race here. That will be added on to the finishing time, so he will need to overtake all of these cars and pull a 5-second gap if he wants to retain that P14 ahead. But for right now, we see Chris Martins, holding on like a wizard. The VGTR Alpine is really doing all he can at this point. And behind, lots of squabbling as well. Side by side we go. Now, that's going to be Solon, I think, and Timmermans. Down, heading towards the chicane, the outside run. Timmermans in the DC Racing on the inside, but no, Daniel Solon is fully ahead before they reach corner entry, and that is going to be done and dusted easily for Solon's. Looking like he's almost in a different class there momentarily. Timmermans going to have to build up a response, but up ahead, we also see Sean Tempest and Chris Martins heading side by side into Villeneuve. Not going to happen, though, just yet. A little bit of a better line, though, taken for Sean Tempest. Is that going to give him the opportunity onto the outside? I know I've said it before, the outside, not an opportunistic overtaking chance. And once again, it is going to prove that way. He is going to have to be a little bit more patient and remain behind, heading up to Piratella and Aqua Minerale. Be very tricky to make an overtake happen here. He's going to try, though.
He's going to try and hang it around the outside here at Piratella, but again, going to have that patience. That's going to put him well wide out of track limits. That's going to bring Gabriel Mbite through in that 831, but he's trying to stick it in the inside of Aqua Minerale. The two of them sending it, power sliding round the corner. He's going to get it back on the cutback. They're going to be almost side by side, but it's going to be Chris Martin, like the widest Alpine that has ever been recorded here at Imola, is holding on to that. It's around the outside. There's more contact from Sean Tempest, who wants to get his nose in here as Gabriel Mbite gets involved. They're 3 wide on the exit of the chicane. There comes Timmermans, so Mbite gets ahead of Solan. Solan now having to drop to the back of the group here. Timmermans now back into this little fight here as well. Down into it. It's 3 wide into that corner. Contact. The 3 of them involved. 2 of them as well. That's the 297 of Solan. That takes out Timmermans as well. Unbelievable action there. Timmermans already with a 5-second penalty. I've got no doubt whatsoever that Daniel Solan will be slapped with a penalty for that one, but you'd never have said that was for 14th position, would you?
No, that was looking like a battle for the final position on the final lap of the race. These drivers, no love lost, and elbows out all the way. Big mistakes, though, from a few drivers, and the stewards will be most certainly having an inquiry on that one. Up ahead, though, Sean Tempest, he's breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief, as that was 2 of his competitors that were breathing down his neck, now done and dealt with, as they have done that to each other. Sean able to continue the charge on up ahead to Mbite. Gabriel, though, with Chris Martins in front and some support as well in chat from Chris Martins. You love to see that. Scar in chat cheering on his buddy there in the number 9. Hopefully the Dakota Esports driver can hold on for right now.
Again, what I'm trying to figure out is how the hell did Chris Martin hold on to that? He has got a secret NOS button or something on that car, because that has been the most unbelievable pressure applied from 4 different cars to try and take that position, and he's held on to it. And not only is he held on to it now, I think he's actually starting to get a little bit away from this little fight here, because Nibt and Tempest now fighting amongst themselves as Chris Martin in that number 9 Pit Stop UK car can head off into the sunset. A little bit further back though, the battle for P20 and 21 right now. Chris Davis just ahead of Plasmation in the number 56 Porsche just now. Who's that in the behind? That is the number 67 car just behind him. Petrol aficionados of Kamal Taha that handed over the car to his teammate Philip Balavender behind the wheel of that one. So again, 20th, 21st and 22nd position respectively, but back up in the qualifying positions is still Chris Warner from Simonietta and Janice Reinders, who is now 4.6 seconds ahead of the car in 4th position. So those 3 cars at the moment, with 38 minutes left to go here, looking comfortable to take the qualifying spots.
We see here, heading now on to the 43rd lap, Blasmeisen as well as Philippe behind here. Philippe Baldwender going to be going for a move potentially into the first chicane, but he is a bit far back. He has a look onto the inside as that gap is fully left open. Late on the brakes, isn't able to stick the car there and get enough room to make a valiant attempt. The Team Iris car being a real thorn in the side here for Blasmeisen. Chris Davis doing everything he can to hold on and is doing an excellent job so far. That car we saw picked up a little bit of damage earlier on in the first stint, though repaired at this point and on fresh rubber. Carrying on with Blaz very close behind, but what a send from Philippe. That came seemingly out of nowhere, and he manages to make it stick from a different postal code. Lovely job there from Philippe.
That really, really was, and that Alpine just decided to stick its nose in and break this little fight up and say, yeah, I'm just going to take the position from you two here. I've got no doubt that he's going to have his eyes next on Chris Davis. Certainly the top 20 all being almost Alpines. You know, I think that's almost a certainty that McLaren is going to go down, and then we will have a lockout here. But a wild move, it'll work sometimes, but other times, yeah, you're going to have a lot to answer for on that. The other thing to remember is that post-race we're going to have 2 penalties from 18th and 19th position. So as it stands, he's going to be promoted potentially up into that top 20 anyway. But again, it all depends on where everybody finishes just now. But with 35 minutes left to go, we're now watching Chris Vining. Again, another driver who had quite a lot of support there for Red Kings Motorsport in the 666 just now. He's behind the number 3 Simply Race Esports car of Keith Hemsworth, who had a little bit of support for Alexander Paulik behind the wheel earlier on, handed it over to the driver. And you've got to say, in the second stint here, Mike, the drivers have been, apart from that battle for 14th position, the drivers have been much more restrained in this one.
Yeah, most certainly. They've been a little bit more on that reserved side, saving it for later on in this race, which it is later on in this race. We might see them unleashing what they have left in the tank here. We watch Chris Davis still trying to hold on. The Team Iris doing everything he can, but a great run for the Alpine and a check to the outside. Is he going to go late enough onto the brakes as we head into Tosa? You can see the switcheroo of a lifetime for the Alpine. Gets a big moment mid-corner, though. Is he going to get the power down in time to get a good enough run here into Piratella? He will have the inside line. That should be the advantage. Is it enough, though? Can Chris Davis go late enough on the brakes? Yes, he can, and the Alpine stays behind of the McLaren for now. This is going to be a heavy for now, as you can see. Another attempt, at least, and that Alpine is getting awfully impatient, David.
Yeah, there's a little bit of nudging, a little bit of bumping and grinding going on right now, and it's a 4-car battle for P20 right now. Davis, Balvander, Maishin and Goodger. Scott is also fancying getting involved in this one as well. We're going to have lap traffic becoming an issue shortly because our race leader, Chris Warner, is coming up to this lot just now. He's about maybe 3 seconds behind this little fight at the moment, so this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. But the number 77, in fact, actually I tell a lie, he's already in front of this little group here just now, so a proper little scrap going on here between Davis, Balvinder, Maishin and Goodger Scott. But here we go, side by side then across the start finish line then. Davis moves to the inside, that's going to be the outside for Piratella. He's already got the position, that car going very slow in front there. I'm not sure what on earth just happened there, but that now means that the number 77 of Davis takes up into P20 and Balvinder almost dropping back like a stone there.
I think I know what happened there, and this is a heavy think. I'm pretty sure we saw that Alpine go for a move onto the McLaren, and that is what allowed him to go so slowly as he made that move into the final few corners. Side by side we go. There is a little bit, I think that was a replay. No, coming out around, we're live still. Onto the outside, rumble strips for the McLaren as he is tumbling down the order right now, was ahead of all of these cars, and now is looking to be behind them within a matter of a lap here. Chris Davis on the outside, very unfavorable line through Piratella, but big curb taken there for the Porsche, is able to secure that position. Or is that now? It's Porsche. Finally, a Porsche and a McLaren battling here in the sea of Alpines. A little bit of variety in terms of visuals, but you can see now, yeah, Chris Davis really plummeting, and I'm not sure what happened to either the Alpine or the McLaren there on this lap. Definitely, though, the Alpine having a better time around on lap 46 than the Team Iris here, but Team Iris still going to be behind Keith Hemosmith in P12 for now.
I think that's really unfortunate. I think what might have happened is Simonietta is in the middle of all that in second place, and I think that car might have just moved to the side to allow the blue flags to allow the car through, and of course the other cars are like, oh, free position, thank you very much, and just went straight past there. But Simonietta through to the front of that group and streaking away off into the distance, dragging the number 67 with them. That is Philip Balvender, and that gap now around about a second just now as we're watching Chris Warner, your race leader. We've got another yellow flag down here into the second chicane that has cleared itself off. But again, you know, we've spoken very briefly about this, Mike, but it's been a flawless display here from Apex 1 X Pit Lane from Adam Svansky and Chris Warner just now. They're now 10 seconds ahead of Simonietta and probably about, 25 seconds, I think, ahead of Janis Reinders. So it's very, very unlikely. I mean, barring a technical issue or some sort of huge penalty, I mean, it's difficult to see how they don't win this race.
Yeah, for sure. Looking very strong for the race win tonight is the number 11. They did pick up an invalidation this lap. That could be the dark horse that comes in at the very end. You never know. Track limits, like I said before, not the most challenging to deal with here at Imola, but there are a couple corners where if you just push the limits a little bit too much, for example, right here, you run too deep into this corner, and it's so easy to pick up a warning and carry the speed there. In the game, even sometimes a little unfair. Maybe you don't gain speed, you still pick up a penalty. You know, unfair, obviously, relative, but nonetheless, something for these drivers to keep an eye out. And Chris Warner, so far, has really not put a foot wrong, but everything could change at the end. Looking back down here at Chris Davis, though, this has amplified quite a bit as we actually, between, I think it was Chris Martin is actually in the pits. The number 9 car and number 19 had some contact with this group of cars. Not quite. A little bit further ahead, but some contact earlier on with Gabriel Nabite has resulted in some cars coming in the pits and making an extra stop. That is going to allow these drivers that we see right here to gain a position. An incident being popped up on screen right now. The car 297 and 112 on lap 46, 5-second time penalty for the 112 for causing collision.
That car's gone. That number 9 is just disconnected. Chris Martin looks like has gone from the race, is in pit lane, but immediately jumped right back to around about 25th or 28th position, which would signify that they have disconnected from the server there. So we've lost the number 9 pit stop UK team. Be very interested to see what happened there. I wonder if it's maybe a technical failure actually on behalf of that car. We'll have to wait and see. But also, good afternoon to YouTube chat and Twitch chat as well. Charlie Booth saying, hello, it's me, the one who bottled quali. It's great to see drivers owning up for their own undoings. He's asking our broadcast director if we can go on board with his teammate Brandon Pfeiffer, presumably just to put a little bit of extra pressure on Brandon, currently down in P23 just now. He is 3.5 seconds behind this little fight going on just now, and in some clear air ahead of the number 14 VGTR esports car. About 1.7 seconds. Mikolaj Novicki is saying that Chris is flying for the win, and that is referring to Chris Warner. Definitely agree with you. Stellar performance from the Apex 1 X pit lane car just now, as we're on board with Nick Timmermans looking behind at that is going to be Spangler and Balvender then going side by side. Balvender taking that position like candy from a baby, and is it going to be 2 for the price of 1? In fact, that I'm telling a lie, because that is our race leader. That is Chris Warner getting past him. I was getting all excited there and thinking it was something that it wasn't, but it's only our super dominant race leader clearing off into the sunset. Charlie Booth saying that he hit the sand coming out of the second chicane and got a warning. He doesn't look too impressed with that, but again, it goes down to what you were saying there. Automated track limits are automated track limits.
Yep, most certainly. And Dave, I was really into you commentating that.
I know, I was excited there. And then it's just like, I feel so action. Robbed.
Some incredibly intense blue flag action there from David Christie. Appreciate that. But Jeff Spangler going to be trying to hold on behind, or trying to gain that position, excuse me. Nick Timmermans trying to hold on for now in that DC sim racing. And so far, doing a good job of it, negotiating the blue flags, or being a blue flag and being negotiated very nicely, not having any mistakes just yet. We do know, though, some of these drivers are getting those track limit warnings added up, and that will make your decision-making, or change your decision-making and how you attack your corners and how you attack your opponents as well. Trying to go for maybe a bit of a cheeky overspeed run where maybe you cut the track and try to go for a bit of a run. Nobody catches it. You know, you never know. That's going to be off the table for some of these drivers. Is 3 warnings, even 2 warnings. Is you never really want to get to that third one. That's where everything kind of changes and your entire mindset can flip of, I don't want to get a drive-through penalty. I don't want to ruin it for my teammate especially. That's the biggest thing. Is it's one thing to ruin your own race, but when you ruin somebody else's race, you really don't feel too great.
Yeah, and that penalty is almost certainly going to drop Nick Timmermans outside of that top 20. Balvender is almost certainly going to get that position once it's done and dusted. But again, I mean, look, time is now liquid at this point, because we're now down to 25 minutes, or just over 25 minutes left to go, as we're back watching Chris Davis for Team Iris in that number 77 McLaren, just behind Blasmation in that number 56 car in the top 20 just now. They'll be happy with that, and I think they should be, given the dominance of the Alpines. To get the pretty much anyone but Alpine into a position in the top 20, that's a hell of an effort from those cars there, and great to see a little bit of speed from that McLaren, showing that there is some life in the alternatives out there just now. But as we said, 26 minutes left to go, and it is still Chris Warner in the lead of the race by around about 10 seconds from Simone Etza in that 204 Absolute Motorsport Isolith car at the moment. And the final qualifying spot going to the 199 SG Stern team, Max Florenz and Janus Reinders in that third position, and they're looking pretty much done with that. 3 seconds to the good ahead of Guillermo Felipe, and that gap doesn't, I can't see that coming down very quickly anytime soon.
Did Felipe? No, excuse me, never mind, I take back what I was about to say.
I think what your gut was the way to say is absolutely right. Would you way to say, did Felipe do a faster lap last time round?
No, but let's pretend that is what I was going to say.
Great observation, Mike. Yes, he was 0.4 of a second faster on that lap round. That's actually quite exciting, because if that holds out, we could have like a proper race on our hands for that final spot.
Yeah, what I was really going to say is while our top 5 really have had a bit of a separation in action here, I got to give credit to these racers for putting up such a show for the first half of this race, as the gaps have extended. There in a little bit of a maintenance phase, trying to manage those tires to the end, but the gaps at about 2.5 seconds from Felipe and Reinders in P3, so we may actually see a podium change here by the end of this race. I do not think the top 3 is done just yet. Lucas Tippach behind as well, chasing down Matteo Sinodi. So positions to be gained here as we approach the end here as well. Nick, as we're following along with right now, trying to make some overtakes with the DC Sim Racing, but also trying to hold on behind Jeff Spangler, looking very strong in terms of lap times, though. The P17 car, 151.8 last time around to Jeff Spangler's 151.6, so a 0.2 difference. Jeff, even though he is behind, he is quicker, but still not quite quick enough to stay really within that second margin. He is slipping back. Looking up at our leader, though, is a absolute masterclass of a performance so far. He's got some back markers to negotiate here, but David, looking so far like he is going to do so all the way to the checkered flag, as you said before.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a given, but I'm now definitely starting to get very, very questionable over Janus Reinders and Felipe in that battle for third position, because at the moment our third place car is behind Brandon Pfeiffer at the moment, and not able to quite get past that car, and that gap is coming down 2.2 seconds now, so the two of them are definitely going to be getting very, very close here. I think there's definitely a sting in the tail here, because we're going to be coming down to Ravazza for third and fourth position just now, as we're watching Nick Timmermans for DC Sim Racing just ahead of Spangler right now. Spangler has a little look to the inside, can't quite make anything of it as they go down into turn 2 just now, but with 20 minutes left to go here, it does look like, actually, yes, we are going to have to cut back to that third and fourth place battle, because that is now getting very, very close indeed, because Felipe has just got past his car that he was behind at the moment, and he is now about 1.8 seconds, I think, behind third place, and Reinders is still behind that number 41 car. So this is getting really, really intense.
Yeah, Felipe, he may be in it here for a podium chance even before he expected it. Janus needs to negotiate this traffic very quickly and try to have that back marker do exactly what he's doing to him right now and hold up the car behind. Felipe is on a tear right now, 1.5 seconds behind. Currently is the gap. By the end of this, though, he may be even on the rear bumper. We'll see. They have negotiated that traffic, but
yeah, I was just noticing the two cars that they've got up in front of them as well is the 77 of Chris Davis and Matt Goodger Scott, and we know how hard they've been fighting as well, so I definitely don't feel very good for Janus Reinders right now for SG Stern, because there's a lot of work that has to be taken out here, and this is going to be absolutely pivotal in the final 20 minutes of the race. We love action, but you could not have scripted this in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, Goodger and Davis, they may play a massive role in this equation here, as this is for a position battle as well. So it's so hard to be a blue flag in that position. What do you do here? Do you just move out of the way? They are coming to the best possible opportunity to be blue flagged. Onto the start finish straight we go. So if he wanted to maybe have a move out of the way and allow Goodard to, or rather, excuse me, allow Jans here by, looks like are we seeing a lift? I think we are seeing a lift there, and we see this car moving off to the side. So what is Scott doing, you may be asking? He is trying to use Janus here to his advantage. Janus is going to be where the blue flags will be waving for that McLaren up in front. The McLaren will have to get out of the way eventually here, but can Goodard Scott take advantage of him moving out of the way and slowing and get that overtake as well? I don't know, because he's fallen about 1.5 seconds back for right now, so it's going to be quite the ask.
It is, but Reinders gets that car up the inside there. That was a great position to get that done, but you know, Guglielmo again, is so close to actually making this happen here just now. He's going to be right up with this little fight as well. It's just thrilling stuff to watch. Actually, that's the McLaren of Chris Davis that we just saw there getting past there just now. So again, just seeing there, and in fact, actually, I think that our fourth place car, Felipe, has been caught behind two of them just now. So yeah, that's not worked out for him at all. He has been absolutely caught, and any excitement that we had there, I think, might be getting taken away from us with 20 minutes left to go. But back with Nick Timmermans just now, he is really doing everything he can. He's trying to catch on to the back of Daniel Solan, but just in behind him is that 818 Madhouse Racing of Jeff Spangler, and Spangler really trying to make a nuisance of himself right now. He wants to get that position here, Mike, and he's doing almost everything that he can, bar throwing the kitchen sink at Nick to try and get this position.
Yeah, no doubt. And as he has that 5-second penalty that will hurt him on later, but Timmermans has a heavier penalty, which means that he will gain that position regardless. But who doesn't want the on-track overtake? It's one thing, you never know, penalties, they could be removed post-race. You always want to just secure that position just in case. And also, we saw a question in chat earlier. What happened to Ryan Yee and Jeff Spangler from the Madhouse? Well, early on, they had a little bit of a contact in that first chicane with a few drivers, and resulting was that 5-second penalty, I think, that was from that. And Jeff Spangler going to be carrying on since then behind the wheel of a fully repaired Alpine that happened before the pit stop phase. Now popping on with Felipe, you can see a fairly clear road ahead of him. That's going to be not the sight that Felipe wants to see. Currently in 4th position, that is the position that you almost don't want to be in. It's the one that's going to hurt the most come the end, as of course the top 3 are the ones that make their way into the finals of the Grand Finals. And currently, Felipe, the outlier of that equation.
Yeah, Team Ballast Esport really trying to push everything they've got. That gap now 1.2 seconds, so it's come down massively because it was 1.5 as they crossed the line here. Felipe, this is, for me, as much as you don't want to be in this position as the checker flag flies, but god damn it, you want to be in this position with 20 minutes left to go. What more motivation do you need? You're like, here, this is what you need to do. This is the car you need to beat within the next 18 minutes for us to qualify for the Grand Finals. That is all the motivation a sim racing driver needs. And Felipe just dropping back a little bit there, 1/10 of a second. But again, it's whether or not Reinders has enough in the tank to hold on to this, because as we come down to the final stages of the race here, again, it's all very well being able to catch up to the back end of that SG Stern car of Janus Reinders, but has he got enough in the tank to be able to get that over the line and get ahead of that car just now? That is going to be the big question just now, because at the moment the gap's still 1.4 seconds as we're seeing Brandon Pfeiffer for Trackalicious Box on board.
Yeah, heading now into the first chicane, you can see we have some cars in front of us. That's going to be Scott. We've actually caught up quite handily. These two scrapping away has allowed Brandon Pfeiffer to reel them in. The box 3 Trackalicious car coming through, heading towards the Villeneuve chicane now. Looking so far so good, just off the limit a little bit here, being very cautious and trying to just wait for these two to really make a mistake. As you can see, that McLaren doing a little bit of that, a little bit wide onto the rumble strips. Early on the brakes goes the McLaren. That will give the Alpine the opportunity to make a switchback attempt here onto the inside. Goes the Alpine as we head up the hill towards Piratella. This should be every advantage, but no, the exit for the McLaren, that straight line speed, that is the one difference that the McLaren has over the Alpine. Sure, the Alpine can corner quicker than it, but it cannot lay the power down faster or better than the McLaren. That is where it has its massive advantage, as well as the straight line speed. McLaren, an absolute rocket ship. Now coming through the back, a little tricky bit, heading up towards Variante Alta now. It's going to be another look for the Alpine, but I don't think anything is going to come of it just yet. Now taking the chicane of Alta as they head on towards the Ravazzas once again, David, for the next lap.
Yeah, and again, that McLaren not getting the best exit out of that chicane there. Look at the side there of Goodger Scott, but again, the McLaren just seems to have the grunt. It seems to have the straight line power, but up the inside goes Goodger Scott, and McLaren tries to get the cut back, but every day of the week, that is going to be moved, done, and dusted. Thank you very much, as Brandon Pfeiffer now fancies having a little piece of the action as well. I'm keeping a little eye on third and fourth position just now. That gap's still about 1 second between them just now. 1.1 second now between third and fourth. And look at that. The McLaren just powers its way around the outside there. I mean, that is scandalous power there from the McLaren. It's just a shame that we didn't see more of that a little bit further up.
Yeah, David, that is exactly what I was talking about. This McLaren is such a rocket ship compared to the Alpine. While the Alpine, like I said, has every advantage in the corner, which we saw a perfect example of through the Ravazzas, making a lunge of a lifetime from Goddard Scott. But that straight line speed, even with the damage picked up on the front end of that McLaren, not quite aerodynamically sound, still able to punch a hole in that air with the slipstream that Goddard even had and still gaining. It's just incredible.
It certainly is. It makes it damn entertaining for us to watch as well, as we've got a proper gaggle of cars now making their way round towards Acqua Minerale as well, and then through the right-hander here. So again, as they come round up through Acqua Minerale, the McLaren goes wide, and Chris Davis takes way too much speed into that corner there, and it's just a 5-car melee. That is, you brought the term a knife fight in a phone box. That's exactly what is happening here. But here we go. 15 minutes, and Guillermo Filippi now just 0.7 of a second off of the back of Jans Reinders here for the fight for the final position, and that is a lap car they have got in front of them, and that's wide from Reinders. Mike, here we go, game on. This is absolutely it. They're going to be side by side.
Heading around the final corner across the line. It's going to be the outside line and the unfavorable one for Felipe. But nonetheless, he is fully ahead before we even reach corner entry. Now, can we see the other Alpine? Have a look down the inside. Jans, though, too far behind and not able to get late enough on the brakes. That is going to be the podium position taken for Team Balsa Esports.
Wow. Wow, and yet you just know that with 10 minutes left to go, this is absolutely not even remotely getting started yet. As Guillermo Filippi, he will be delighted to have that sight in his mirrors of Reinders in that 199 SG Steyr car. Janis Reinders, who fought so hard there, but the gap has been closed well and truly down. That's what we have to watch here, is how this all unfolds with just 13 minutes left to go, as the Team Ballas Esports car has that final position just now. But again, that also means that all the pressure is on that 563 car right now. I think that Reinders has the faster car, or the faster ability in the car, but again, it doesn't matter. It's all about if you're able to get past. And the other thing is we've still got lap traffic in front. That's the 56 that they've got. That's Blasmeichen in the Porsche just now. He wants nothing to do with this. He just wants to get a bit of peace and quiet and race his own race, and that's exactly what he does. Moves out of the way for the two of them. Excellent race awareness there from Blas, and another little mistake from Guillermo, and this is now coming out of Ravazza. It's still going to be side by side. Reinders firmly onto the back wing of Filippi just now. What's it going to be as they come across side by side along the start finish straight? 12 minutes to go. A little bit of contact from Filippi. Oh my lord, get the boxing gloves on, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to be a ding-dong scrap.
Absolutely. For the next 11 minutes and 57 seconds, I think these drivers are going to be firmly strapped into your seats, but you guys at home should be fully out of them at this point. As it stands, this could not be more exciting, as Blas there gets one of the best views in the house of the best battle on track right now. Currently, you can see the rear wing, and there's big contact through the Villeneuve chicane. Felipe, aggressive defense there, but also some aggressive moves from of Reinders.
Look at Blasmeichen in that Porsche in the background. He's like, can I play? He's just waiting so patiently to get on with his race. And the two of them are just getting very much into each other just now. This is getting very, very messy indeed. And Reinders, this is what I was saying. I think Reinders has got the faster car underneath him right now. But it doesn't matter because Filippi is ahead. Another penalty coming in here. The 831 and the 137. That's said, Tempest and Nibte. It's a 5-second penalty for Tempest for causing a collision. That is going to nuke any chances of them staying inside the top 15 just now. Look at how aggressive Janus Reinders is for SG Stern, mounting the curbs, launching it, almost sending the car airborne, coming through the right and then the left there. Here at Imola through Grazzini, down onto the brakes. It's late onto the brakes there, and there's contact. That is almost certainly going to be a penalty for Janus Reinders, straight into the side of Felipe, and you hate to see it end like that. Oh man, that is absolutely gutting to see that, but I mean, that was way too late on the brakes there, and yeah, Reinders almost certainly going to be hauled over the coals for punting straight into the side of Guillermo Felipe there, Mike.
Yeah, that really, you really hate to see it. Stewards will most certainly be having an inquiry into that, and Felipe is going to be fuming behind the wheel. I know I mentioned earlier a little red mist that you see in front of you when you're driving that unfortunately us as viewers at home don't get to see. Well, that little red mist has turned into a complete red fog at this point. And we are going to be seeing Felipe push the wheels off of this Alpine for the next 9 minutes and 41 seconds to try to catch back up to Janus, at least overtake Sinodi in front. That is going to be his biggest goal, and get into a place where if Janus almost certainly receives a penalty, it depends on how hefty the penalty is, will put him back into the grips. That is the question.
This is it. It's 10 minutes left to go, and the big beneficiary of this is that 201 car, the SPQ Racing team of Matteo Scinotti and Simone Verna, because while that happened, Scinotti got ahead of Felipe by, what, half a second at the moment. And let's imagine the 199 does get a penalty. Who comes in third place? It's going to be that 201 SPQ Racing team. So Felipe, it's a double gut punch for them just now, because not only have they been taken out, it's a drive-through penalty! Reinders absolutely smashed by Race Control. Now that is presumably from Race Control. That's not penalty posted. That might be track limits. That might have been automatically assigned, so that might be a double penalty given to them. But Reinders getting a drive-through penalty. That is it. It is over for the 199 SG Stern car. And now this is it. This is your battle for P3 right in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. 8:20 left to go. Get the popcorn in the microwave right now, because this is going to be a sensational end to the GT4 playoffs.
David, you could not have scripted this finish. As we come into Tamburello, once again, you can see Felipe pressuring Sinodi. He has just gotten so much excitement pushed into his veins after seeing that drive-through penalty. That probably just lit the spark, and that fire is going to be blazing for Felipe. Sinodi as well, though. He can see the light. He wants it just as much as Felipe, but it is going to come down to pure driver talent. These two drivers in the exact same car. Coming now around Tosa, you can see Felipe has the pace. Last lap, he was 4/10 quicker. Can he get an overtake on this lap, or will it be the next one? Or will it even be at all, David? A flash of the headlights trying to get in the head there of Sinodi. I'm not sure that's going to work on the caliber of a driver like this.
I'm going to throw another name into the mix here. Lucas Tipach just behind. You can see him faintly in the background right there. 1.7 seconds off this little fight. All it takes is for these two to get tangled up in themselves as well. And we've got player 3 has entered the arena for the third and final playoff space of the GT4s right now. 7 minutes left to go. It's still SPQ Racing Team at the moment. Matteo Sinotti in that position at the moment. It's then Felipe trying to take it back, but look at the pitch. That gap is now, what, 1.5 seconds right now. This is far too close to call. The tension mounting to unbearable levels right now. The shoulders on Scinotti are absolutely huge with the pressure he's having to deal with right now, but you can see as he boots that car out of Ravazza on lap 61 here, goes a little bit wide. This is Felipe's chance. Look at the gain. He's catching in the slipstream of the car in front. Can he do anything about it? Coming up to Tamburello, it's going to be to the outside for Felipe. Can't quite make anything happen here, but again, that's going to add the pressure, because Tipich is going to be able to gain that momentum and catch even further onto it. 6 minutes. My God knows how we're going to be able to cope with this.
Oh man, we saw earlier Simone Verna and Simone Seminara battling hand and fist with each other. They are currently on the pit wall right now, cheering their teammates on, and I'm not sure they can even watch the screen right now as these two getting so close to each other. I would not want to be their teammates, but also obviously I would be, as right now this is the most exciting fight for the final slot into the Grand Finals for the GT4s. This could not be bigger right now for these drivers. Matteo Sinotti holding the pressure like an absolute wizard so far, but can we see Felipe pressure him into a mistake? We see him on the flashers at every opportunity, trying to get into the head of the 201 car. Of course, you're going to have the teammate Simone shouting at both Simone, shouting in the ears of the teammates, keep calm, keep it cool, keep it collected, and make it to the checkered flag. That is the most important thing. Don't pick up any penalties at the end of this race, as that will even be worse for you. So far, though, they have driven such a superb race and have been battling for such a long time. They are going to be, I would imagine, good friends, if not good rivals at the very least, by the end of this.
Yeah, I'm not sure that friendship is going to last after this, because this is all to play for right now. Sinotti coming out of Ravazza then with just, what, about 3-4 laps left to go in this 2-hour race. How the hell can a 2-hour race be decided in the final couple of laps? But you'll love to see it. Sinotti ahead of Felipe Tipic now, dropping back again. He's going out of contention. 1.8 seconds as Felipe firmly onto the wing of that car in front, but again not close enough. And this is clever actually from Felipe. Let the car in front do all the work and wait patiently until that last lap or 2 laps to go. You don't want to take the advantage and give the ability for the car back to just snatch it back immediately. You want to make it firm and decisive. But SPQ Racing, they are in the pound seats right now. They're all just moments away from qualifying for the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals happening in just 2 weeks' time. Shows you exactly how much is at stake here as they're going to go side by side, coming up through to the left-hander then, and not going to have anything to do. It's going to be trying to end the switchback down into Aqua Minerale. That forces Sinotti wide. He's going to have to go defensive. Felipe's going to try and take the outside line at Aqua Minerale. Has to put more on the brakes. And here comes Lucas Tipic to make it 3 players in the final 3 minutes. Mike, how the hell do you deal with this stress?
I'm going to be completely honest, I would not want to if I was Felipe. I'm happy to be in the comms box right now and watching this action, because my goodness, Lucas is going to be shaking at his knees right now. Let's hope he can keep it calm and join this party without any incident. That's going to be the biggest thing. Just keep it. Remember, this is down to the last few minutes of the race, but you've been doing this for 62 laps so far, or maybe, I guess, 31 laps, as it's been about halfway for them. So just remember your braking zones, remember your lines, and don't forget your turn-in points, because that is what's going to make you make it to the finish line here and in the best position possible. You're going to finish where you're going to finish. Don't try to force anything that isn't there, as that will just result in a penalty later on that could end up with a much worse result. Though, we will see. Sinotti, let's hope Felipe here. Is he going to have a run? Another flash of the headlights. You can see the mind games under play here. These two drivers, definitely, like I said before, maybe not going to be the best of friends after this one, but definitely good rivals. The SPQR team, as well as the Ballas Esports, they are going to be forever locked in blood after this one.
And this has just been an amazing, amazing race. Chris Warner then for Apex 1 X-Pit Lane sharing the car with Adam Spansky. They are off into the sunset, ladies and gentlemen. They have almost certainly, with 2 minutes left to go, taken the race win. 20 seconds ahead of everyone else in the rest of the field. It's been just a ridiculous, ridiculous performance from them. Then it's Simone Yetza in the 204 Absolute Motorsport Assetto car, sharing that car with Mattia Zampedri in that second place. Again, they're light years ahead of this battle here. 24 seconds up the road. This fight here is for the final qualifying spot for the GT4s, and my goodness me, are they absolutely fighting for it right now. I'm just trying to check where Chris Warner is on track just now. He's just got across the start-finish line here, so this is going to be the final lap of the race that they are on just now. Oh my days. So they're going to start the final lap as the end of this one here, Mike, and they're coming down to Ravazza. It's a big change of pace here from Felipe. He's going to have to get a move on now, because it's now or never, and you get the feeling Tipic might have a little bit to say in this as well.
Felipe has 3 miles, 4.9 kilometers left to go to make the overtake to gain that final slot in the Grand Finals in 2 weeks here. Is he going to do it into the first chicane? You can see he has the run, he has the overspeed, but does he have the line? He has the outside line, and it's covered heavily by the SPQR team. Now heading onto the outside, late on the brakes. Is he going to get it done? He stays fully alongside, keeps it for the apex. It's going to turn to the outside, though, once again. The SPQR boy is going to stay ahead for now. Sinodi ahead, but who is that? Lucas Tipak joining this as well. Can he go 3 wide into Tamburillo? Will he take the slot into the finals? They make contact, and it looks like Lucas Tipak is going to be the final position in this Grand Finals as a result of something that nobody expected. We need a replay on that, almost certainly. Heading out of Villeneuve, they make contact and both stranded in the gravel trap. They are going to be devastated, David.
Ladies and gentlemen, get the police on the phone because there's been a murder. Sinoti has been absolutely assassinated by Felipe. But it's all about this man here, Chris Warner for Apex One X Garage. Comes across the line to win here at Imola. The first of the GT4 playoff places secured and in the bag. Simone Yetza for Absolute Motorsport Assetto in the 204 car, coming out that final corner as well in second place, and that's going to be the second place in the bag. Would you believe it? Lucas Tippich for the 255 Low Fuel Motorsport car. Niall Steinbrenner behind the wheel of that one takes third place. He is going to be scratching his eyes, he is going to be thanking his lucky stars, and he is going to be wondering what the hell just happened in front of me on that last lap there. It doesn't matter, the Alpine is going to take that every single day of the week. Low Fuel Motorsport Project Arcade take the third and final qualifying place in this GT4 playoffs here. Matteo Shinotti, their SPQ racing team, and Guglielmo Felipe for Team Ballas Esports there. I think they need to have a proper little chat after that one. Mike, dear God almighty, what on earth happened on that final lap?
One other thing that happened on that final lap that we just caught on the feed, Guglielmo actually, to add insult to injury, got overtaken by Roncola at the very end across the line. It was a photo finish, but he got him only just. But what a battle. Lucas Tipak has to be sweating along with his teammate there. They are going to be, like you said, counting their lucky stars on that one, but they played it perfectly. They played it superb. They didn't get tangled up in the incidents that we saw. As someone in chat said, that was feeling a little inevitable. They just got 2 elbows out, as I was trying to say. Remember your apexes, remember your corners, but no, unfortunately, that can get lost so easily, especially on the final lap. And what a finish that we had, David. I am just buzzing after that one.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And I guess the other thing that we have to highlight as well is that, you know, this is now extra representatives for their respective communities going through to the Grand Finals. So, for instance, for the 11 Apex One X Pit Lane, they're there representing the SimZone community. For the 204 Absolute Motorsport Acelith cars, they're through as part of QRT Esports. And then for the 255 of Lucas Tippich in that Low Fuel Motorsport with Nell Steinbrenner as well, Low Fuel Motorsport being represented in that final. So it's a wonderful bit of appreciation to be able to show off your community's flag in that finals. But my God, I honestly, I have never seen a final lap like it. This is some highlights from the race, and this is the race start as they all gaggled down. But again, so much that we've just seen through the last 2 hours here. And for the most part, I think everybody has done their individual community proud there.
Oh, no doubt. And what an excellent drive as well from both Adam Spansky as well as Chris Warner in the Apex One, excuse me, coming across the line there. They qualified from the Sim Zone and making that slot there with a dominant drive. Big credit there to P1 and 2 for basically walking away with this race and not having any sorts of competition. But that battle for the 3rd podium slot it changed probably 20 times throughout the race, David? I'm not sure. That was too many times to keep count of, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a wild set of affairs nonetheless. But We are joined by greatness in the commentary box as the Apex One X Pit Lane boys represent the Sim Zone. It's Chris Warner and Adam Spansky. Welcome, gentlemen. That was an amazing race. It looks very, very easy and in control from yourselves. Adam, let's chat to you first because that was a hell of a first stint, my friend.
Hello, thank you a lot. Yeah, that was good first stint. We didn't want to risk too much because I thought that P1 from Quali will just drive by and we will have just war space, but yeah, it seemed to be that we are faster, so I did try to attack, and of course it was really great because we ended P1 and have some advantage on them, so yeah.
Were you expecting to have more cars fighting for the top spot in that first stint for yourself, or were you just glad to get a little bit of clean air?
No, I was trying to be as much consistent as I can and just to gain as much advantage. I didn't expect anyone just to gain on us.
And then, Chris, obviously, Adam handed the car over to yourself. Is it extra pressure when he comes in and the car's in first place and you've got quite a good gap?
Well, the thing is definitely Adam was much quicker than me today, so I was definitely in his backpack sort of thing. But no, it was phenomenal, really. Done a fair bit of practice. Well, three of us that will be going into the Grand Finals, Greco, Adam and I. So yeah, it's been good preparation and hopefully just carrying it forwards.
And obviously flying the flag for the Sim Zone in the Grand Finals as well. How awesome is that you get to represent a community in all of this?
It was really, really good because Greco and I were the ones that did the Sim Zone in the Ferrari, and it was probably one of the most competitive ones of the communities to get into, because I think it was one of the last ones, so everybody sort of left it to the last minute to try and get in. So yeah, very thankful that we've managed to make it through here.
And finally, obviously, 2 weeks' time now, the preparations begin in earnest, because obviously the first round is awaiting you, 3 hours. What sort of prep work is involved for the three of you?
Adam, do you want to take that one?
No, you can take it.
All right. Sort of thing, it's just same as before, sort of see what car we want to take for the championship, because we can pick again, I suppose. But the thing is yeah, it's just on the track, do the laps, really. It's not much more than that. Just continue lapping until it sort of becomes muscle memory, really. And then, yeah, see how it goes on the actual day.
Actually, I've just realised one final question that would settle something for myself and Mike here in the commentary booth. Alpines were the choice of cars today. What was it that makes it the default car to choose?
I think it's mainly just the BOP at the moment. It's really not too good in.
Well, there we go. Criticising BOP and he's immediately been disconnected from the internet. So we'll leave that one there, Chris. But listen, Chris, Adam, congratulations on the race win. Looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time taking part in the SimGrid VCO finals, and just an amazing race today. Well done, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mike, there we go. We get an answer about why it was the Alpine, and I can't see too much changing between here and 2 weeks' time.
No, most certainly not. There will be no custom BOP used for that. We will be using the in-game for the Grand Finals, so it is what it's going to be in terms of the GT4s for that. I'm sure we're going to see some more variety in the GT3 field, no doubt, as that field very diverse. I'm sure we'll see a couple McLarens out there. That's going to be my prediction, as that is arguably one of the best cars, but I'm sure we'll see some Ferraris as well as some Porsches, some BMWs maybe. I'm looking forward to seeing some M4s out there in the Grand Finals in 2 weeks' time. Really hope to see that. But for now, what a race that we're left on today.
Yeah, what an incredible, incredible treat. A huge thank you to all of our audience if you've been watching us on YouTube or on the VCO Twitch channel. Hit like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit follow on Twitch. Join us in 2 weeks' time for the start of the Grand Finals of the SimGrid VCO Grand Finals. What an amazing day it's been. I've been David Christie. A huge thank you to Mike Nice joining me here in the commentary booth. A huge thank you, as always, to Steve Proudley in the broadcast booth as well, and all of the people involved in race control and making the race happen behind the scenes. That's us for just now, though. Thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time where we get things kicked off proper and good. Until then, take care and keep yourselves safe.